See us now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. Tucker Carlson. So much barking and noise and yelling. Our role is to take 3 steps back and just shine what really matters. Sean Hannity. The most important thing that we do, we are looking out for the forgotten men and women in this country. Lorraine Rowe. They're going to get straight.
If y'all can't sit here all day online, make sure y'all go onto the iHeartRadio Media app, KPRC 950, or just tune into your radio, 950 AM. A lot of good stuff today. A lot of good stuff. But it's only 30 minutes, so make sure y'all tune in. If you're going to get some calls in, 713-212-5950.
Finally forbidding insurers from discriminating against or denying coverage to Americans with pre-existing conditions. The GOP spent 8 years preparing to repeal the law, even forcing a government shutdown.
Hey, Karen. Hey, little Tim.
A California college ready to shell out hundreds of millions of dollars to settle lawsuits.
The University of Southern California says it will pay out $215 million to settle claims of sexual abuse by a school gynecologist. That settlement would compensate individuals.
And as always, today's segment brought to you by Bragg's Organic Apple Cider Vinegar, all natural drink. And we got the right one today, apple cinnamon. Dick, where's your Topo Chico?
I got a little Topo Chico right here.
You got it? Let's make sure you got it. Got it?
I got a Topo Chico.
David, what are you drinking, man?
Starbucks.
Ah, come on, man.
It's a Frappuccino.
Yeah.
He's got the Frappuccino. He's frapping it. Oh, man. What a rush. Sorry, Shannon. We were rushing.
Shannon, you get a car. We didn't give me a badge.
Yeah. Barely did it. Okay. Hey, y'all. Oh, it's going to be a juicy show. It's going to be a short show, but it's going to be juicy.
30 minutes, huh? Yeah. So we have one break around 14 to 18 again. And 27, 26 more going.
So we're going to go into, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, first let's start about, there's a new suit. First let's talk attack him again.
And I'm Joe.
Attack him.
Oh, yeah, I could
attack him. And then we'll talk about the suit against the city for the
largest gun show in the country is over
the drag queen show.
Yeah, they got to watch out. They might get in trouble on that for anti-slap. How are you going to get around anti-slap with that?
Good afternoon. Watch out for an accident on the North Freeway northbound and the North Loop. This has 2 lanes blocked.
I haven't seen the pleadings.
Some good news, that accident we had on the North Freeway southbound equipment has been cleared. Traffic is winding in that area, adding about 30 minutes to your commute. I'm Eunice Garcia, the 24-hour traffic center.
Okay, cool.
And pizzas out for a limited time.
And then we'll
talk about Sylvia some more.
Yeah, we do need to talk about Sylvia. We got the rest of the affidavit, and we can talk about the Chronicles hypocrisy because they endorsed her after being one of the lead publications on this Me Too and Kavanaugh stuff.
Danny and his friends.
Take a break from
After the first break, we're going down.
After the first break, we're going to you with about immigration law and how it ties in and stuff
right here. KPRC.
We'll make it fit.
Opinions provided on the Eric Dick Show are for information.
They've never heard the intro on Facebook streaming.
All right, folks, we're back to a spicy show here today. It's going to be fast and furious Eric Dick Show with my co-host and wingman, Chris Carmona. And
hello, good weekend, everyone.
It is going to be a great show. Okay, we had a lot happen this week. We had, Touchy Sylvia. We got the rest of her affidavit where, she's talking about some rash she has, and she has a clerk, which she's a municipal judge, and she, starts telling the clerk, hey, I got this rash on my leg. You want to see it? And the clerk's like, well, no, not really, Sylvia. I don't know that many people want to see it, but no, I'm good.
And she was good. And that's the thing. I mean, when we left off last week, I mean, we had limited information on this affidavit, but we have procured the remainder of the affidavit, and it just gets even worse. I mean, there was trips to Nashville where she was just taking advantage of her allegedly aggressively inside this hotel room. And, you know, this is a legal talk show, and we talk about legal standards and how that impacts the community. Well, I remember a couple of weeks ago, the Houston Chronicle made it a point to make sure that our Supreme Court of the United States candidate, now Justice Kavanaugh, was put through this ringer and even made a point to publish different opinions and editorials where it said that, you know, if you're accused of these things, you're not fit for these types of positions. So with Sylvia being accused of these types of allegations, it's surprising that they came out and endorsed her this week. What's going on?
Well, you know, it's a quote, Erica Grinder from the Houston Chronicle. It's dead and irrelevant, and no one cares. And that's actually from a reporter. So you know, what's interesting with the whole Kavanaugh thing is you had a woman, and she was sincere. I know there's people that, you know, have different opinions, but she seems sincere that something happened to her. Maybe we aren't sure what happened, but something happened, and she seems sincere about it. Just as the level of sincerity in that affidavit. I mean, and they go into a lot of detail.
And it's pretty detailed. I mean, these are things that have been sitting on and no one's come forward. Apparently, Ms. Gutierrez had actually made these complaints before, but it fell on deaf ears. And that's a problem I see with the city of Houston, is that they pick and choose who they actually want to move forward with these types of allegations. And I think that's something that falls back into the city council and also the mayor, because we have to stop that culture of siding with some, whether it's political or not, or it's just friendships. If these allegations are being thrown out there, you got to act on those. I mean, if not, you open yourself to all types of liability in the employment field, right?
Yeah, you're right. And didn't if I remember right, reading that affidavit, didn't one of her like staffers kind of walk in and go, "Oh, whoa, I don't want to see this," turn around like beeline right out,
opened the door, unlocked it, and said, "Whoa," made a U-turn and got back out of there. I mean, so there's been witnesses to these allegations or to these events, and I'm just shocked and appalled that for the Houston Chronicle to come out and say, you know, we're going to lead the movement and making sure that people have a voice and people who have these allegations, they're going to be heard, to come out with no hesitation and endorse against Philip Aronoff in the congressional race in CD 29 over in the east side of Harris County.
Or they could have just done no endorsement. And they could have just done, they could have said, you know, well, look, we're going to be the bigger person. These allegations with Sylvia, they're pretty sincere. You know, and just so the listeners know, this is, you know, the former county commissioner, former state senator, Sylvia Garcia. What she did is she took off her, allegedly, which is probably not very alleged, but anyway, she took off her pants, said, hey, you know, I got a rash, to one of her clerks, you know, ran around in her panties. Another one of her staffers kind of came in and kind of was freaked out and beelined out of there and just completely harassed this poor girl. I mean, if I did this type of stuff at my business or even at the Department of Education, it'd be all over the news.
Oh, it would be. It would be lawsuits left and right, all over the news. Every single media publication in the city would be covering that. And again, I'm just shocked at that. And, you know, I hope that, you know, people put politics aside, because, again, this has a lot more weight in this story with specific details than we saw with Kavanaugh. And I hope the Democrats actually hold Sylvia Garcia accountable. And there may be some infighting that results from this, with early voting starting on Monday. And so we'll just have to see on that. But with infighting also comes another person we need to talk about. The turmoil hasn't stopped with our county judge.
Oh, hunker down?
Hunker down. You know, last week he had came out and endorsed the Democrat candidate for lieutenant governor, and there was some minor backlash from some of the candidates down ballot in Harris County, the Republican candidates. And there hasn't been any backtrack. If anything, it's been a double down on the statement of saying, I said what I said and I meant what I said. You know, how's that going to affect everybody? How's that going to affect the courthouses? Because, you know, in 2008, we saw a huge wipeout. 2012, we saw it again, a wipeout. 16, another one, sweep every 4 years. On
the Ed Emmett is just kind of the reaction. It's really the fault of the local party, the complete mismanagement by the local Harris County Republican Party, and the arrogance of Ted Cruz. And you got to realize that Beto is the result of just utter arrogance of Ted Cruz being just elected, runs for president, just ignores everybody. I mean, Beto, he's done a decent job. He's not going to win. I don't think he's going to win. I think it'd be surprising if it'd be a shocker. But stranger things have happened. But Beto wouldn't have nearly as much following if Ted Cruz would have done his job, and also been a nice guy. And everyone tells me in the Republican Party that's around him. I mean, some people do like him, and they jump up and down and say we like him. But there's a surprising amount of people that say he's a jerk. I don't want to be around him.
He's not connected to the people he was when he campaigned first in 2012. He's kind of separated himself in more of an elitist attitude is what I hear. And then I also heard last night that there was a Kingwood Tea Party gathering, candidate rally, and apparently that was the buzz around the room. Is anybody going to hold Ed Emmett accountable for this statement? And is that going to really hurt the down ballot judges? I think it will. I think it'll
hurt the judges, but you got to also remember that Lloyd Oliver, he did something similar, actually a step back, maybe 4 years ago whenever he ran for DA. The Democrats just kicked him right off the ballot.
Yeah, and there's been some great articles about that by Charles Blaine and also Kerry Cheshire. They made some mention on this, and they were asking people, hey, what's going to happen here?
Oh, nothing's going to happen because Emmett's tied in with the local party that's incompetent.
Yeah, it is. And more to come on the Eric Dick Show. A shortened segment today. We only have half an hour. We got to get to y'all some sports programming. But y'all sit right there, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, folks. See you shortly. We'll come in, go in with you for going to the 10, 12, and we'll be done.
Yeah. So what do you feel comfortable talking about? Like what area are you just feel like, man, I know this, I'm dynamic on this, and boom.
Just anything immigration is good. We do all types of immigration. We do business, we do family, we do removal. So anything that you want to talk about in terms of any changes, like right now there's an instant denial that just started in September.
Okay.
So that means that if you send a petition, it's wrong, something wrong with it, not all there, so just deny it. And this bad used to, they just refuse it. But denying it is actually
right up here.
bad.
Okay. Then we can talk about this caravan that's coming up and Trump's statement. There's some tough people, and we don't want those tough people coming in. And we can see about they're coming from Guatemala and Honduras. They're trying to go through Mexico. Mexico's actually trying to do their job and secure the border. So we don't want you coming in and filter in. They tore it down and. I'll tie into immigration, then we'll immigration right there. That's how we do it.
I think smoking always affected my daily life because I was a closet smoker.
Roseanne, exactly. Someone like the county chair should have said something, but he didn't. Really, the guy pays them all. I mean, it's his major funder.
There's no
him and this guy Weekly, they own him. So what is he gonna say? No, don't do it. But like I said, it's gonna be very, very, very.
We got a good many followers now.
Not want to break straight ticket voting because of his insistence on doing that. So we'll see how it turns out. But early voting starts on Monday. Make sure I go by. Vote all the way through from the top to the bottom. There's a lot of judges on that ballot that really need your support. It's not a smart idea just always hit straight ticket if you don't feel comfortable with all the candidates. Beto, fake Mexican. Is he really a fake Mexican or just using the name to try to trick people? What kind of fires was he putting out? Like what was being said to try to mitigate that damage? I mean, could you really mitigate that? Unless maybe to show some poll numbers, but like the current poll shows, even with that statement, we're still up about 15%. Anything like that.
How long did spread around?
9.2, but it took
Oh, here we are, folks. If you haven't pulled over and talked to your lawyer, you better do it because we're going to go into some law, and I don't want you guys crying to me because I gave you good advice and you hadn't paid me. So you better go talk to your lawyer before you listen anymore. Okay?
And if they're suffering from any type of home damage, car damage, life insurance issues where the insurance company is just not paying, so they call Dick.
Better get Dick.
Eric Dick.
Better get Eric Dick.
And so when we left off, I mean, again, there's just so much turmoil going on in this world. But one thing I do have to say is today is my daughter's 14th birthday. Happy birthday, Brooklyn.
my mother and sister's birthday.
I was about to say, you have a family of birthdays today, too.
And it's Mark Lanier's birthday.
And Mark Lanier's birthday. So October 20th, mark this down on your calendars, everybody. That's a strong day for birthdays to come out. But other than the birthdays, we have some other exciting news going on in the country, right?
Oh, we have a lot of exciting news. But why don't we start off talking with Danny about his little law practice doing immigration law. And we can kind of tie it into all the many things that are happening in this world.
So today's guest, we have attorney Danny Wynn. Danny, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having us. This is David Wynn, by the way.
Oh, sorry, David Wynn. Oh,
No problem. It's okay.
so I had it right the first time when I said David.
Yeah, you said it earlier this morning, so yeah, maybe it's too early for you.
Oh, I was thinking of there's a
City council member of Missouri City.
That's right, Danny Wynn. Sorry, David. So you have an immigration practice. You've been practicing law about 10 years, right?
That's right. We're practicing 10 years. We have an office in Southwest Houston and one in Northwest Houston as well.
Excellent. And so there's been some changes lately. And could you tell me about the changes in immigration law that's, some of the listeners might want to know about?
Yeah, so there's a lot of changes across immigration, across the board. So whether it's legal immigration or illegal immigration, there's changes across the board. Some of the major changes, instant denial. So starting in last month, September, if you send in a petition or an application and there's anything that's wrong with it, immigration used to send you a request for more evidence, or they send you a notice.
Feeding rocks. It should not be a crime to feed the homeless. Feeding rocks. A good Samaritan shouldn't be punished for acts of kindness. Feeding rocks. Because it's more of a crime to turn your back on a starving person. Feeding rocks. You shouldn't go to jail for sharing food. Feeding rocks. You can't in good conscience let a hungry person starve. Feeding rocks. Help us legalize charity. Go online and sign the petition. www.feeding.rocks. Feeding rocks.
Property damage from Hurricane Harvey is devastating. That pain has been made worse by your insurance company underpaying or outright denying your claim, sometimes without even inspecting your home. I'm attorney Eric Dick, and it's my job to make insurance companies accountable. If you feel you've been taken advantage of by a greedy insurance company, call me today at 833-3HARVEY, 833-3HARVEY. That's 833-3HARVEY. Call me right now.
Attempt to deny and give you an opportunity to fix the problem. So now, no more. They can instantly deny your application. And again, this is not like a rejection. This is a denial. So it looks really, really bad if you're trying to reapply later on.
So what you're telling me is if someone is, wants to work on their status or, wants to bring someone over or marry someone or what have you, if they probably should not do it by themselves. They're probably behooved to go actually get a lawyer to help them with their immigration status. Is that what you're telling me, David?
Exactly. I used to tell people, if you read the law very carefully, you could probably do this by yourself. But now so much things have changed. Like, I'll just give you an example. So the basic forms that you need to sponsor a spouse, it used to be last year, before 2017, the I-130 form, it used to be 5 pages. Now it's 18 pages. And there's another form that supplements that. It used to be 4 or 5 pages. Now it's an additional 18 pages. And those are just 2 forms out of the many forms that you have to file in order to bring someone to the U.S.
Now, and this is things that probably an attorney is best equipped to handle. Is that correct? Is that a fair assessment?
That's right. And, it's not a person's fault, to be honest with you. A lot of things are wrong online, especially even on the government's website. They're wrong. And I could, probably usually what I do is I show clients like, look, this is what you want to do, and I can tell you that it's wrong. If you do it this way, like they have it on the website, it's going to get rejected or denied.
Now, there's a lot of notaries that have popped up around this city, I know for sure, over the last few years to try to assist and expedite some of this immigration paperwork. What's your feelings on notaries? Are those really strong minded people who understand the legal system and know how to navigate the channels?
And that's a good question, Chris. Well, I can tell you for sure, a lot of people in Mexico, there's public notarios are attorneys, but in the U.S., they're not attorneys. Public notarios are popping up, and let me tell you why you don't want to hire one. The public notarios would never put their name on any of your documents. So whenever there's a problem with your documents because they're giving you wrong advice, no one's accountable except for you. And you're not going to be able to blame someone that doesn't have their names on your forms.
They're charging a lot of cash too, aren't they?
They do, but besides this actually being illegal for a notary to practice law, and usually they'll charge at least, near what a lawyer would charge.
Sometimes more.
Sometimes more. So you're having someone, it's basically you're just going and picking someone off the side of the street and saying, hey, help me with my legal forms. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't get, someone off the side of the street to represent me, which actually I do. Being an attorney, actually I do hire people to represent me, and anytime anything happens.
They say what a client has a fool. What is the saying?
Yeah,
only a fool has a client for himself. Or
that's right. So yeah, if you have problems with immigration, you probably should get a lawyer. Maybe you could have done it in the past, but it sounds like things have changed, and it probably behoove you to sit and talk to somebody that actually is licensed through the state bar and tell you what to do. What other problems do you see happening, Danny?
Okay, so the other problems that we see right now is if you're in removal proceedings. So before, if you're in removal proceedings, that means deportation proceedings, you would have probably a very fair trial with the immigration judge. It's not like that anymore. So right now, under Donald Trump, he said that immigration judges have a quota. They're obligated, or they should, try and end at least 700 cases per year. So what this means in reality is that every immigration judge under the quota has to finish a case within 2.5 hours. Think about this for a second. One party has to state the facts of the case, the witnesses have to be called up, the judge has to make a decision, all in the course of 2.5 hours. Some of these cases are asylum cases, meaning that they involve people that have been victims in their own countries. They're going to the U.S. in order to seek protection, and now you have to make a decision within 2.5 hours, whereas maybe a year ago, you would have maybe several years to put together a case. So that's what's happening right now is that.
But on the flip side with that, Danny, hasn't one of the biggest issues always been that the process takes too long? You have to get in line. It's a long line, takes years. But with this expediency of a 2-hour hearing, or doesn't that speed up the process? And doesn't that help people who are in the queue trying to get through the system properly?
So in the past, you're right. So in the past, asylum used to take years. Now it's not that way anymore. So earlier this year, they changed it. When you apply for asylum today, instead of taking years, you're going to get a notice for an interview within 3 to 5 months. That's very quick. Think about this. You have to show asylum is not easy to get. You're going to have to, usually the attorney will write a legal brief. You have to show evidence, so medical records. Imagine fleeing your country with nothing, and then you're going to have to try to get certified copies of your birth certificate, or anything that you have in that situation, maybe judicial records. I mean, it's going to be very hard for anyone that's fleeing their country with no money.
Yeah.
And nonprofits nowadays don't have a budget in order to fix this issue. There's too many people.
It's definitely a broken system. It's something that we really have to make sure we're pressing our Congress members and our senators to put something in place that's actually going to be sustainable in the long term.
And it's not just the immigration system. I mean, it's the same way with our justice system. There's a lot of sad things that happen every day. I had a client one time in criminal law back when I first started practicing law, where she had some problems with welfare. She got too much welfare because she was broke. And the judge that she was in front of, who's now the administrative judge in Harris County, was Susan Brown. She was nice enough to, put Mike Al in jail, baby in hand. When I say baby in hand, I had to watch the baby while the grandmother came to pick her up.
It was training for you, Dick. It was training for you.
That's training. But we want to talk about injustice. There's a lot of injustice to go around, a lot of injustice in different spots. And it's been going on a long time, and I imagine there always will be injustice.
Yeah, real quick, David. There's a huge caravan coming through Central America right now, going through Mexico, trying to get to the United States. Will they make it? And if so, are they going to be turned back around under this new policy provisions? What happens to them?
Right now, it's harder for people trying to enter the U.S. to get asylum or refugee status. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle for them to try to make it into the U.S. And even if they do, it's going to be very hard for them to try to get any legal status in the U.S. So it's very hard. We're turning away people that are actually fleeing their country. Some of these people, yes, there's always people that will try to, go past the system that do not qualify. But you have to understand, there's a huge vetting process to make sure that their alibi sticks. There's multiple interviews to make sure they have a credible fear.
But if you have a group of 1,000 people coming in one time and saying, we just got bombed in our neighborhood, shouldn't their stories all match? And wouldn't that be considered some type of evidence that could be used in the process?
So just like you mentioned earlier about the Kavanaugh hearing, when people experience trauma, they're gonna remember different things. And so when you have a child versus an adult, they're gonna see different things. And that's why it takes a lot of work in order to gather the story to make it make sense, because every person's story is going to be a little different based on their experience.
Well, I think it just goes to show that you're always probably doing right whenever you have legal problems to go and get an attorney. The system's always going to change under whether it's Trump, whether it was going to be somebody else, the system's going to change. Whether it's good or bad, it always remains to be seen. It's fascinating how government works and how consequences for actions happen. Plenty of times they're inadvertent. This could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Only time will tell. But what is important is while they're going through this process, if they're serious about it, they probably need legal help.
They do, and that's what we're here for, is to try to make sure we guide people to make sure they're getting legal help in any type of situation they're in. And David Wynn, thank you for your time today with talking about immigration. And if anybody needs to reach out to David, what's that phone number?
It's 281-777-1236.
All right, thank you, David.
Yeah, so is there anything else we need to go through in this fast and furious?
Absolutely. Again, anytime you're facing an insurance company, whether it's a car accident, a personal injury that happens, you slipped and fell, or you got flooded or hail damage, if the insurance company does not want to pay, you got to make sure you have someone on your side who's going to fight for you from the beginning to the end, and is going to take the insurance company to task.
What I found amazing is I've represented like thousands of people, and when I say thousands, like 2,000-3,000 people. And out of those thousands of people I've represented, I'd say 98-99% were underpaid on their claims. It's just kind of fascinating that so many insurance companies just underpay claims, and they pay big money to to government through lobbyist organizations like Texans for Lawsuit Reform to buy people off. But I guess that's never going to stop. You're always going to have stuff like that, and that's been going on since governments began. Is you have special interests.
And it has, and as long as there continues to be special interests protecting the insurance companies, it's important and critical that you have an attorney fighting on your side, and that's where homeowners insurance lawyer, attorney Eric Dick, comes in. And again, if you're getting in that legal situation, don't get mad, get Dick.
Good to be back again, folks. I'll see y'all next weekend, or I won't see y'all. I'll talk to you next weekend.
And make sure that we haven't always said this, but we got to send a huge shout out to our producer Shannon. See y'all next week.
Thanks, producer Shannon. Have a good one. Barely did that one. That was a rush.
Hey, send me some business cards. Maybe I'll get it out. I have a business card wall.
Yeah, guys, again, sorry for the short show today, but we'll be back on. We're good next week, right?
I'll put this on.
We're good next week. But we'll let y'all know. Yeah, have a good one.
It's on Twitter. It'll be on Twitter later. Okay. Bye, folks. Thanks. Property damage from Hurricane Harvey is devastating. That pain has been made worse by your insurance company underpaying or outright denying your claim, sometimes without even inspecting your home. I'm attorney Eric Dick, and it's my job to make insurance companies accountable. If you feel you've been taken advantage of by a greedy insurance company, call me today at 833-3HARVEY, 833-3HARVEY. That's 833-3HARVEY. Call me right now.
Feeding Feeding Rocks. It should not be a crime to feed the homeless. Feeding Rocks. A good Samaritan shouldn't be punished for acts of kindness. Feeding Rocks. Because it's more of a crime to turn your back on a starving person. Feeding Rocks. You shouldn't go to jail for sharing food. Feeding Rocks. You can't in good conscience let a hungry person starve. Feeding Rocks. Help us legalize charity. Go online and sign the petition. www.feeding.rocks. Feeding Rocks. We're about to go live. About 7 minutes. We've got a bunch of great guests, a bunch of great topics. You can message me. If you guys message me, I'll respond. So, let's see. My handle is at Dick Law Firm on most Twitter, Instagram. Okay.
You're doing your live stream too?
Yeah. So,
Does he have Wi-Fi or no?
There is Wi-Fi here. It's iHeartMedia. I don't remember the password. I'm gonna have to find it.
yes, yeah, iHeartRadio guest.
Yeah.
Radio guest. We're jumping.
I don't know that I know what the password is, guys. I'm looking for the email where they sent it to me.
Check their phones. Should I check their phones already?
I put mine on vibrate.
Yeah, mine's on vibrate.
Thought it better put in your pockets.
Yeah, I watched the debate last night.
I saw clips of it. That's it.
Pretty much.
We have kids, so we're like, we have triplets.
You
So,
have triplets? Yeah.
so we basically pass out
Pretty much. It's work, take care of the kids, and sleep.
Yeah.
When you
When
can.
they go to bed, we clean, do all this stuff, and then pass out.
2.5.
At least I wait until they go to bed first. So.
Before we pass out, that's a good thing. Well, we do CPS work, so
It's
we
kind of a
know
necessary requirement.
it's kind of a necessary requirement.
Wow.
So they exhaust us.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing?
That's all. He
Oh,
says we
yeah.
can't have any more kids.
Well, I understand that.
Isn't that mean?
We just knocked the ball out in one.
People say that it's not quite as amazing as you would think to knock
Yeah.
them all out in
No,
one shot.
I definitely see the benefit of.
Any triplet parent you speak to will tell you, we love our kids. We wouldn't have chosen to have triplets.
Correct.
That's like Octomom type thing,
Right.
thinking, yeah. We're more of we're happy we had 3 kids, yay.
Are they all girls, all boys?
I
mean,
cried.
you gotta get your boy, man.
Nope.
I cried. As I told them, no one's gonna love me. I said they're gonna love Daddy. Mommy will do everything, and Daddy will get the love.
3 girls?
3 girls. Oh, did you find a Wi-Fi password or no?
I didn't. I couldn't find it. I looked. I didn't see it.
Do you think your engineer knows it?
You're gonna have to ask her. We're about to start though.
Okay.
We're gonna be able to talk about CPS a little bit as well.
Well, he does some CPS and I do, but I'm not talking. So.
Okay.
Let me record at least, and then I can give it my perspective. It's already on.
Every Sunday from 5 to 6 p.m. Right here, KPRC 950 AM. And now, the worst commercial ever. Hi, I'm Justin Galvin, retired athlete from the local ball team, so I know a thing or two about insuring a landscaping business. I trust the pros, commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. Get customized insurance solutions at a Grand Slam home run for you.
Restroom. I'm running.
Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is an agent.
To the left.
So I just discovered DazzleMe.com. It's a totally addictive new jewelry site with big name luxury brands, and you know which ones I'm talking about. Unique designers that you can't find anywhere else, all at a fraction of the price. I'm going back on DazzleMe.com tonight.
Maybe doesn't necessarily work. Okay. We're about to go on live with we're at KPRC AM 950. We've got a bunch of great guests today. A family lawyer, kind of a couple. Philip O'Brien here is co-hosting, helping me out. He's wingmanning it. We're going to be going on pretty soon, so tune in. If you guys have any questions, post it on. I'm watching on Facebook. It's live on a number. That's fine. Oh, maybe I should put on my headphones.
There's some here.
Let's see. Oh, wait. Yeah, it goes silent for a little bit before. If I remember right, I always get spooked with this. It goes silent for a little bit, then it'll play its music. And we get going. Okay.
Here. I was like, what is he doing?
I didn't know Bill had a DWI.
You mean Bill?
Oh, Beto.
Beto.
Didn't he have someone like his dad that was a judge covered it up or something like that too? Maybe his dad last night. Well,
Very well could be.
that'll make for some,
That's
TV.
that's gonna be some good radio. You guys getting a preview of what we're gonna be talking about. Juicy, only the juiciest here. Okay.
Am I going to be able to hear?
We have a studio. There's gonna be a studio monitor that'll play that like we were hearing before. It'll play.
Oh, in the background.
In the background, yeah.
Okay.
If there's a good family law question, can she answer or does it have to be me?
I don't mind. Y'all can both answer.
Okay.
should be a mic right there.
That might still be on.
There should be both mics on. But
No, those criminals up there on.
Well, if he says for me to do it, I can push mic on.
yeah, just hold on. I know it's quiet. Okay.
So you talk about the video bit. This is Russell Newman and Vivian Rodriguez. Then we're live on AM 950. Can you take some questions, give some answers, and we're on the Eric Dick Show. Hope to hear from you.
Okay, I know it's a little quiet. I know. That's okay. Just getting ready. It's the calm before the storm, folks. The calm before the storm. Okay.
From the Emporium Diamonds and Design Cafe Center. We did have an accident working on the outbound side of the freeway. We put recapture the traffic up into the downtown area. It's not clear, but things still might be slowed up in line. We do have construction related outbound on the Southwest Freeway, approaching West Loop, right now the backup to the Freeway. I'm Stephen Cross. I'm trying to go out traffic center.
Adjust it.
This report is
The headphone volume there too. It's too loud.
this was a participating modified stores.
Okay, we'll get ready to go on. Minutes, folks. I'm here. Still have a delay. You tune in AM 950 or just Facebook Live, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. Twitch, yeah. I'm on Twitch, YouTube, and every single one. Periscope.
That's pretty cool.
Periscope, which is Twitter and all of them. So, guys, you got questions? Oh, no.
You should contact your attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular issue or problem. The opinions expressed on the Eric Dick Show are that of the host and guests, and do not reflect the opinions of the station or iHeartMedia.
Whoa, I'm back again, back for more. Oh boy, and I've got a number of great guests today. We got a lot to talk about. This is Eric Dick, and running wingman today is none other than Philip Paul Bryant of the Kojic Pack and many other great ventures.
Good afternoon.
We're live on AM 950. Live on a number of social media handles at Dick Law Firm. So let's just kind of dig into it. We've got a number of topics. So should a white insurance adjuster who's working for an insurance company, and I hate even bringing up really his nationality, his race, but should a white insurance adjuster suggest that an arbitrator be Hispanic because the policyholder is Hispanic? I asked that because I had this happen to me. I had this adjuster, his name is Kevin Horomas. He's kind of a jerk.
You gonna call him out
Yeah,
here?
I'm gonna call him out. He's kind of, in fact, he really is. He's just not a nice person. What I've learned in this world is you've got good people and you've got bad people, and he is. Anybody that knows him knows he's not a very good person. So, anyway, he suggests, and I'm just going to read what he wrote in email. He suggests, let's pull it up, as an alternative umpire, which is, I'm just going to say, arbitrator selection due to plaintiff's Hispanic heritage. Apparently now he cares that my client's Hispanic. I'd offer this other person as an alternative. And my question is that kind of racist? Is it inappropriate? I mean, could they pick another, insurance adjuster because my client's Hispanic? I'm just wondering. Since the guy all of a sudden cares, is that appropriate? I don't know. What do you think, Philip?
Is it appropriate for an appraiser to request a umpire that's the same nationality as the client?
Yeah, whenever no one else is the same nationality, not even the person requesting.
Yeah, it seems like you're kind of infusing race into a situation that for now there's a language barrier issue. I think a language barrier issue. I think the courts have a way to kind of bring in an interpreter. I think for the most part that should be suffice. I don't necessarily think that it's about a jury of your peers at this.
A local pastor is fed up, and he's challenging the Houston homeless feeding ordinance.
And the city requires you to get a permit if you are going to share food. He can't get a permit because he doesn't know where he's going to share food.
Philip Paul Bryan regularly keeps cans of tuna and water bottles in his car to hand out to homeless people. But under the current city ordinance, he's breaking the law. His attorney says Bryan does this because his faith teaches him to help the less fortunate.
This law that's in place, it's a mean-spirited law. It's against, charity. It's against kindness. It's against doing the right thing.
Eric Dick says they plan to fight this till the mayor and city officials overturn what some believe is a misguided ordinance.
Hi, this is Eric Dick, and I think it is important you know your rights. If your homeowner's insurance company has denied or underpaid your claim, you have the right to hire an attorney. You have the right to call me for a free consultation at 833-7-RIGHTS. That's 833-7-RIGHTS. Don't let your homeowner's insurance company take advantage of you. Call me today at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Has your homeowner's insurance claim been denied or underpaid? Call Dick Law Firm at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Particular point, if your peers would be the same nationality, I think it's more so about making sure that you have an arbitrator that understands the law, the rules that guide the policy, and kind of go from there. It shouldn't necessarily be based on a race. I know a lot of people may feel a little bit more comfortable, perhaps, I know if I'm in court, if I have an African American judge and I'm African American, I may not necessarily get special treatment. And in some cases, it may be some tough love because they feel like I should know better.
So is this like him saying, my client might get special treatment, or is he? I don't know.
It's kind of inferring that you only get special treatment from a judge or an arbitrator with the same ethnic background.
Then another question I have is why would an insurance company even hire a joker like that? Because it sounds like they're setting them up for some type of lawsuit on being sued just for being racist.
Well, the fact that he put that in writing is a little bit more concerning. I mean, even if you're thinking something, or even if that's your strategy, to actually send that over email, because from what I understand, you can actually have your email subpoenaed. I'm not an attorney, but you can have your email subpoenaed, as well as text messages these days. So I'm not sure why someone would put that in writing.
You can even have the opposing counsel talk about it on his radio show. I mean, imagine that. Imagine that would happen.
Yeah.
Nothing on the internet is safe from anybody.
No. So Russell, you're a lawyer. You practice criminal law, family law.
Special guest Russell. I think you may have forgot to introduce him.
I know I am not a very good host. I'm sorry. I didn't have a number of. I should have had more Southern hospitality. I know I'm a jerk, plaintiff's lawyer. They call me, reptilian, all this type of stuff.
Perhaps you should have had a radio host that's the same nationality.
They might have been. I know they might have been nicer. I'm sorry. So Russell, step up. Tell me what you think. Tell me about you. Tell me what you think about this.
Hey, my name's Russell. I'm Russell Newman of Newman & Rodriguez Law Firm. I do mainly criminal and juvenile, but I have a partner and she does family. I think it's a very interesting issue. I have that come up a lot in cases, such as DWIs and such. I think the issue is, how is it framed? Does this person suggest that you have someone who's of the same race, or does he require someone of the same race? Why does he want someone of the same race? I think there are issues there within that have to be answered. I don't on its face love the idea, no, I don't. But I'd like to know the thinking behind it before I say it's absolutely inappropriate or is appropriate or is not or whatever. But on its face, yes, I do find it kind of disturbing.
Well, why would you even go down that path? This is my first question. What does it matter their race?
It doesn't.
What is it? I'd hope in the current arbitrator's former county attorney, Michael Fleming, who I can tell you personally, I could go up to him and tell him what I think, and he's going to say he don't care. He's going to make his own decision, because that's just how he is, period. And they just, I guess they'd rather, I don't know. It just seems weird. But you brought your law partner, your spouse, you brought her along with you today.
Absolutely. Can't do that.
Yeah. And y'all share triplets, as we were talking about.
They are 2.5 years old. I love them to death, and they are hastening my death at the same time too, probably.
Well, that's you don't really. These are your first.
First and only.
3 at a
You
time.
guys are just warming up, man. Just figured out how to do that right, man. You gotta just call it.
If they're great or if they're screwed up, I've done my damage.
Having 3 at a time, that is a lot. What we were talking about.
You're afraid they have another 3 at a time and end up with 6.
Yeah. She may never be touched again.
I sometimes joke with my spouse that having children is the best form of birth control.
No, having 3 kids is the best form of birth control.
That's very true. Oh, okay. Okay. We're going to take a little bit of a break. Talk more with Russell and Philip O'Brien about some other great topics. Thanks, guys. We'll be back.
What's your last name?
Cynthia. Okay, Cynthia. Sorry. Oh, thanks for calling me out.
I seriously doubt that the company knew that this guy thought like that when they hired him.
They hire him because he's a joke. They really do hire him because he's a joke.
You think it's an intimidation factor?
No, I think what it is he's afraid Fleming's going to be big. He's always there, and he's just trying to bait. He's trying to bait the other person into changing. But he's just wildly inappropriate. The guy's always wildly inappropriate.
We do some stuff on having to deal with somebody's adjusters is just insane. Because they go crazy, and of course it's their bottom line. The least amount that they give you, the better it is for their company to hold on. But it becomes ridiculous, like after a point.
Well, essentially the job is to be a fit.
That's the main goal, is that the members it could be so that they can save more money for their company.
That's true. That's true. If they were fair, I'd probably be out of business.
Because they wouldn't need you.
No, they wouldn't be.
Full-time radio host here.
Oh, yeah.
Starving full-time radio host. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Oh man. Okay.
Ours is still streaming. I don't know how to call it.
Oh, it's gonna stream all the way through.
Well, mine is on my phone. I'm streaming all this.
Okay.
A lot of people asking about the propositions as well.
Oh, we can talk about the propositions. You know how I feel about the firefighters. I haven't seen a bunch of great people joining in. Crowd. Okay. Oh, so maybe let's go back. Go back with the State Farm having to pay $250,000 and Green $250,000. $250 million. A little too
$50,000 in the
$250 million for Judge Dixon. Oh, in a time like that, you know, we're pushing laws that favor interests. And then Republicans wonder why, you know, Ted Cruz is having such a hard time. Why it's a competitive race. They seem surprised, seem shocked. You can pretty well set up the background.
Oh, I can hear it. No, I just hear you guys. Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I didn't even pay attention. Once it started, I was listening and laughing. It's a good show.
Feel free to jump in. We talk smack for a little bit.
Oh, I was laughing.
I'm still, to be fair, I have two kids, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. I can just imagine having three-year-olds, three-year-olds?
Two and a half.
So they're doing the Trouble Twos right now?
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I'm back with Eric Dick on my little show we got here with Philip Paul Bryant running shotgun. We've got a great law couple, Russell and Cynthia. Was it Newman? So then we're talking law and politics because that is just the most fun stuff to talk about on a Saturday afternoon, folks. It's just great. Okay, so what I saw in the news sometime back is State Farm agreed to pay $250 million, not thousand, not hundred. $250 million.
A quarter of a billion.
Quarter of a billion, and the allegations were that they fixed the judge. When I say fix the judge, there's an underlining case, and they got that judge kicked out to get another judge that they pretty much paid for to kick out a meritorious case, and they got sued over that and settled it for $250 million.
Yeah, this was Illinois. You know how to do Chicago politics style, right? I think it was the state Supreme Court. From what I saw, it was a state Supreme Court case. A judge was originally, I guess he was an appellate judge in the circuit court for a little bit, and then I guess when the seat came open, they threw looks like it was about $5 or $6 million behind this campaign.
$5 or $6
Supreme Court
million with the M.
Bigger question is, can we get some of these State Farm PACs to donate to some of our judges? Just kidding.
How about donating to us?
Well, I think okay. So let's break this down a little bit, because this could go a lot of different ways. So you've got an insurance company, the biggest one in the nation. People wonder why I jump up and down and say, "Don't get State Farm; it's the worst one." All my newsletters, number one, say State Farm. They're vindictive. They're going to find any way to take advantage of you.
I love their commercials, though, man. I mean, have you seen their commercials? It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. You put your heels together and then say, and they're there when they need the money, but whenever it's time to pay the claim, apparently they aren't. They say, too bad, so sad, call your dad, go sue us. And if you get a good judge, then they're going to pay $5 million to kick out that judge to get someone else.
It seems like, it looks like there was an original case that I guess the plaintiffs won about $8 billion. And so the case was already won, and it looks like they went back, got this judge on the bench, and allowed this judge to then go back and undo the case.
Well, of course.
That's pretty gangster, even for Chicago, even for Illinois. That's pretty gangster stuff.
Cheaper than paying $8 billion. Just a little.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that, Russell? What do you think about State Farm trying to fix a judge? We see that going on in Harris County in the criminal courts.
Well, I think people think that can happen, but I don't actually see it happening. But one of the questions I have about that is, if State Farm is being called out on this one, how many times has it happened in the past? That's a great question that I would have about this problem that's presented in Chicago.
I see it every day, folks. I see it all the time, every day with State Farm. So I'm just gonna tell you about it. If State Farm does you wrong, you hire an attorney, you sue them. Your choices are take it to the box or walk away. And that's they don't care. They make you try cases. They'll spend, the last one I tried, they spent maybe $400,000 or $500,000, and this is over like a $10,000 dispute, folks. It's not over much money. It's over $10,000. They didn't pay the guy to replace his roof after there was storm damage that happened up in the Dallas area. He was upset. He's like, I've been paying into State Farm for all this time, and I figure the least they do. I've been paying them, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year. At least they do is pay to fix my roof. But no. They made him take it to the box. 3 years later, we had a trial. So, it happens all the time. What their strategy is to just blow you out of the water. If they'll depose every single person. If you have an attorney proving up attorney fees, they'll depose you. So, y'all do, Cynthia, you do family law, right? Doing family law, I just have, you prove up attorney fees all the time. Either the husband will say, you made me do this stuff as a portion of equity since we're married, pay for my attorney fees. Or the wife, or there'll be a child support little fight. And it's like, you're making me have to do this, pay up my attorney fees.
That's correct.
Happens all the time, every day.
Every day, somebody wants to find out, make sure that it's an equitable amount of attorney fees that are being paid on both sides. And there's some situations where you're entitled to the attorney fees. So if you file a motion for enforcement and you're successful, and when I say enforcement, that means, let's say your baby mama, to use a phrase, is not allowing you to see your kids according to an order. Well, judges don't like that, especially here in Harris County. We've got some really great family law judges on the bench right now.
We do.
And you're entitled to your attorney's fees if that judge feels that there was a violation of that order.
So in those cases, how many of those cases have you seen? Just a guess. How many have you done in your life of those type of cases?
I can't even count it.
Like thousands, tens of thousands?
I wouldn't say thousands. I'm not that old.
But you'd say hundreds, like.
I would say probably about 100 at this point.
Right, and then each week you've seen it 2, 3, 4 times, right?
Yes, at least each week, 2, 3, just depending on our schedules.
How many times has the opposing counsel thought it would be a good idea to depose someone over the attorney fees?
Absolutely none. In fact, we barely question each other most of the time if they're fairly reasonable on your hourly rate.
At this point, isn't it?
That's correct.
Right.
It's accepted practice at this point, especially on those types of cases.
Now, what shocks me, get this, every single time I take a State Farm case to the box, they spend 3, 4, and this is nice, 3, 4, 8 hours deposing me over attorney fees. 8 hours.
We call that being a bully. They're trying to intimidate and they're trying to make a point, and they're using you.
Property damage from Hurricane Harvey is devastating. That pain has been made worse by your insurance company underpaying or outright denying your claim, sometimes without even inspecting your home. I'm attorney Eric Dick, and it's my job to make insurance companies accountable. If you feel you've been taken advantage of by a greedy insurance company, call me today at 833-3HARVEY, 833-3HARVEY. That's 833-3HARVEY. Call me right now.
Breaking the law, one meal at a time, feeding the homeless.
It is morally wrong to make it a crime to give food.
A Houston man who feeds the homeless because of his faith is suing the city, challenging the established charitable feeding ban. The often debated ordinance has banned sharing food in public groups of more than 5 people without city permission since 2012.
The city says you can give food to 5 people, not 6. What are you supposed to tell the 6th person? I met my quota today?
The city wants to dismiss Philip Paul Bryant's lawsuit.
That's a crime? What does this world come to? It's a sad day whenever trying to prevent a fellow human from starving is a crime.
The city says the ordinance aims to curb trespassing and littering, both of which were already prohibited in the municipal code prior to the passing of the ordinance. While some Houstonians are in support of the lawsuit,
I really hope he wins his case, and I really hope they lift those sanctions so we can be able to give more to the needy.
So if you're willing to help more than 5 homeless people, you should be able to do that.
Some even challenge the city's support of their citizens.
The city isn't going to take care of their homeless people. That's their people. Somebody got to take care of them. So why can't we take care of them?
A question Houstonians will continue to ask as long as the ban remains.
Feeding Rocks. It should not be a crime to feed the homeless. Feeding Rocks. A good Samaritan shouldn't be punished for acts of kindness. Feeding Rocks. Because it's more of a crime to turn your back on a starving person. Feeding Rocks. You shouldn't go to jail for sharing food. Feeding Rocks. You can't in good conscience let a hungry person starve. Feeding Rocks. Help us legalize charity. Go online and sign the petition. www.feeding.rocks. Feeding Rocks.
As part of it, obviously, because if one attorney says it's not worth it, then maybe the next person won't take a State Farm case.
It's a deterrent on their part.
Correct. They know that if they start doing it across the way, because obviously you have friends that are plaintiffs' attorneys, just like we have friends that are family law attorneys and criminal law attorneys, and so we talk. And there's certain cases in certain courts, which I won't say, that I may charge a little bit more because I know it may be a little more difficult to deal with. And I'm sure you and your friends discuss State Farm ad nauseum.
Well, the good news is there's just not many people that take first-party insurance claims, especially with the current laws in place that are exceptionally favorable to insurance companies. You had a 542A that happened, over the last legislative session, where you had Texans for Lawsuit Reform basically bribing people to push that law in place. Just saying, and this is always their excuse, evil plaintiff lawyers, greedy plaintiff lawyers, they're taking advantage of everybody, and I just don't. Fair enough. That's just their propaganda. Usually when there's propaganda, there's a reason for the propaganda. And I'm going kind of off on just a tangent. But since we're going off in this tangent, let's run with it a little bit. Another thing I want to talk about.
What makes me upset about the State Farm case is my main man, Eric Dick, wasn't the attorney. I was suing for that $250. Man, how much, what's
the attorney fees on that?
What's the Mexican restaurant we go to?
Oh, El Tiempo.
Man, think about how many times we could have went to El Tiempo.
Lifetime supply.
He could have bought
El Tiempo.
He could have
Put
bought
that
El
in your
Tiempo.
backyard next to the pool. Save ourselves some time.
Fajitas and margaritas for everyone.
No, we just get the little. We're just gonna be getting the little meals. We're ordering off the lunch plate, Philip. We aren't buying no restaurants.
There's the kids menu too.
There's the kids menu. Yeah. You especially have the kids menu with 3 kids.
You can bring the girls; they'll only eat one of them.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back. We're going to talk about TWIA, Texas windstorm. We're going to talk about the courthouse state of affairs with family and criminal courthouses. And, of course, we're going to talk about the debate last night with Beto and Ted Cruz. Stay in. Stay with us. Thanks, folks. See you soon.
I turned the microphone off. I think I did. I hit off.
Oh, man. That was funny.
That was.
Oh, man. That's what I brought.
No, I've been doing this 100 ounces of water a day, trying to make sure I stay hydrated, and I'm like, because it helps with your intake of food as well. So, yeah, it fills me up, and so it doesn't bode well for sitting anywhere for an hour or two. So.
I always try to. I get really bad reflux, so I try to drink water and eat healthy. All the avoid all the stuff you like, everything that's good,
Exactly.
everything that tastes good.
It's bad for reflux. I know. I have that.
Life well lived might be better than a long life.
Well, I got kids too. I'm not going short.
Yeah, the 2-year-old. That's.
You guys got. You're not a spring chicken when you had the kiddos, which ain't nothing. I don't mean to be nothing. I wasn't young when I had my kiddos either.
It's tough.
And it's amazing. It's some of the best parts of your life.
It is. It's great. And I tell people I had them late, but I had a good time before, so it's not like I'm sitting here missing the vacations or doing things.
No, and then you got your kiddos, and it just the way they look at you, the way the things they do is just so adorable. How they interact.
They're happy just to sit on you and watch TV
They
for like a short period.
they will manipulate you the rest of your life.
They try. They try. Very much the Hispanic mama, so. And people laugh at me, but I'm like, you take my kids in public, they eat out once or twice a week, and we don't have issues.
No, nothing's wrong with that.
I sit there. I may not eat, but it's just to train them as they get older so they know how to behave when you're in public, because we eat out probably 2 or 3 times a week with them, and then ourselves forget it, we eat.
Nothing's wrong with that. And y'all you're in the swamp. You're chugging along.
You got like doing family law and criminal law. That's tough. That's
We didn't
tough
even
work.
slow down. We had them in the NICU for 6 weeks. They were home for 2 weeks when we tried a sexual assault case in Galveston. So we were leaving them at 7 with the nanny and getting back at 7 and then taking care of them, and they weren't sleeping through the nights. So we were living on an hour and a half to 2 hours of sleep a night while we tried the sexual assault case. It was crazy. I think about it now, and I can't even believe we survived.
It's awesome. It's just awesome in itself, and that y'all are able to push a successful law firm. And you got 3 kiddos, like young kiddos, and just doing it. I mean, you aren't sleeping, but you're doing it.
Well, we have a lot of, we have extended family. My family, I come from a very big family, and so they help out quite a bit. And then, like today, I was lucky my secretary's daughter had early childhood development as her major, so she's in student teaching and not making money. So she's happy to come over on Saturdays and take care of the kids for us for a few hours for not that much. And I mean, otherwise that would be here. You know, our family wants to do things with their families too.
No. My mom's playing with my kids now too.
I mean, we're lucky. A lot of people don't have extended family to help, so I'm very, very blessed.
Getting close.
So just push on, right? Y'all tell me when, and I'll do on.
All right, folks, we're back. I've got a bunch of great people here. Philip Paul Bryant,
Here.
Russell, and Cynthia Newman.
Hello.
Great family and criminal law here in Houston. And let's talk about Texas windstorm, whether it's worth it, whether we should get rid of it. Let's kind of go a little background. Texas Windstorm is the insurance company of last resort along the coast. Laws changed maybe in 2000, let's say 5, making it pretty difficult to get Texas Windstorm to actually pay a claim. You have a lot of articles happening, a lot of people suing, saying that Texas Windstorm, they sent out an initial adjuster saying that the damage was like $80,000. Then that was too much, and they had to send out like a new adjuster to come back and just knock the number down to like $15,000. My question is this: should we even have Texas Windstorm? Why are we paying the money on this? If they're ripping people off, why do we even have it? Why are we even dealing? Why?
You're the insurer of last resort, from what I read.
Well, I don't. Okay, so I hear you saying it's the insurer of last resort, but you got to keep in mind. Here's kind of the beauty of it. There's also lender-placed policy, so if you didn't have insurance, the lender would automatically, that would kick in. And I'm not saying it's better, because actually it might be like just slightly better if you're able to sue them. They always argue that you don't have standing, but it's much better insurance than Texas Windstorm, because it's comprehensive, and I'm sure there's the same level of corruptions there. I'm not doubting that, but I guess the question is it better? Because I'm not even sure. What do you think, Philip?
So this is something that taxpayers have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it kicks in if your current policy doesn't work.
No, if you are off the Gulf Coast and you want insurance, there are some insurance companies now that do sell. Private insurance companies. Swift is one. Just an interesting name for insurance company on the Gulf Coast. But there are some private insurance companies that are selling on the Gulf Coast. If you are not able to get them, then if you have a mortgage company or what have you, they're going to force you to get insurance.
If you're denied.
No, if you can't get insurance, or if you'd end up getting it from someone like TWIA. And so that's kind of what it is. What do you think, Russell?
I honestly don't see the point. I kind of agree with you. What are we getting out of this? I mean, is there a tangible asset that we see from TWIA that we wouldn't see if we didn't have it?
I don't know. Cynthia, what do you think?
Well, it sounds like they are paying some, they're just not paying all. Is that correct?
The allegations are there's a law firm that sued them, done depositions, where what happened is initially they'd say like the damages are like $80,000.
and then they wouldn't like that, so they'd go back and they'd send another expert and say, no, that's too much. Let's knock it down to 15.
Okay, and so the issue is whether or not that's, I guess it's, if they can't get it from anyone else, would you think 15,000 is better than none?
How much are you paying for the insurance would be my question. Are you paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $8,000 a year for the insurance? If you are, save your money.
That's true. Well, that's similar to being forced to have any kind of healthcare insurance
I
as
think
well.
about insurance in general.
For some people, they pay whatever the penalty is. It's $600 to $1,000 or something like that. Versus you don't want to know what we pay every month.
No, it's probably similar to what I pay every month.
And so that's part of the issue. It's just, is it worth it in the long run when you save it? I guess when you, depending on how much they're going to pay, that if the history is that they're not going to be covering these, then no. I mean, you can save your $1,000, $1,200 a month, and you just put that $15,000 towards whatever damage you end up getting.
And if you have a mortgage company, the mortgage company is going to charge it for lender-placed policy, which that will pay because the mortgage company is going to want the house fixed.
Correct.
I don't know if they'll pay right. They probably won't pay right. But I imagine they'd pay something. They'd at least pay enough. I'd hope that, well, who knows? I imagine, I've had cases where the lender-placed policy didn't pay stuff, so maybe I'm just too hopeful. Maybe I'm just too optimistic.
I wonder if it's really that much every month, because it makes me think kind of something synonymous with us. We live in a flood zone, so we have to pay flood insurance, and we pay, and it's going up over the last few years, and it was, I think, $1,600 this year. So $1,600 over the 12 months, and if you pay that for this type of insurance, if you get $15,000 for damage, that may be worth it.
So what's fascinating about flood insurance?
Sit around and wait for FEMA.
That's something.
That's a legitimate point.
Oh, we're sorry.
You'll be waiting around for quite a while.
The Red Cross is good for 500, I think.
So what's interesting about NFIP, if we're going to go into a little bit, it's a government subsidized program where you have businesses, individuals purchasing insurance that, when I say subsidized, in theory, they're supposed to pay out more than they collect, and they probably do. I don't doubt it. But having said all that, what my issue with NFIP is, I don't understand why they offer it to the business community, to school districts, to stuff like that. Whenever you can actually buy insurance on the private market, flood insurance, and it's not that much more. So that's kind of another. I kind of wonder about that. And I'm going on a side note. Russell, tell me the state of affairs in the criminal courthouses in Harris County.
Well, it's a pretty big cluster. It's a big problem. I think in what's been over a year, they have done nothing to ameliorate the situation. But I think the original criminal courthouse was such a disaster that if they fix that somehow, which I don't see how they can, maybe there may actually be a blessing somehow. But for right now, I'm running from juvenile court to civil court to a small portion of the criminal court, all to cover the same criminal docket. And it pushes back civil cases that, like, you have to try, or family cases that my partner has to try, because criminal cases take precedence because, your freedom's at stake. And so I feel not only do I have to cover so much more ground in the same amount of time, my cases get precedence in the court, and that backs everything up. So I think they really, really need to focus on having each courthouse for each kind of law again. But I think we're moving very slowly and haven't seen any improvement, and it kind of gets me down because I don't know what Harris County is doing to fix this ability.
Aren't they still using parts of the building? Because I know a family that they had a case down there, and it seems like they kind of redirected it automatically when you go to the criminal court. They tell you to go to the civil court, even though they're having some criminal court cases in the criminal court. What's going on?
What do you think, Cynthia?
They may try the cases in different courts. So let's say for regular settings, you have regular court appearances, you go to the civil courthouse.
Right.
Well, one day you may show up, if you're set for trial, they're going to send you back to another courthouse to actually try the case. So it can get confusing for people, and they have now opened up the 20th floor.
A couple floors. Probably 17 through 20.
Of the main criminal courthouse,
Which is the
on
courthouse,
201 Franklin.
Which is the courthouse floors that were the least affected. What they're saying is it's the easiest ones to open. But they're saying the other ones are so far from being open that they're not even optimistic
So
for
they're just kind of
2020.
doing one floor at a time as far as the...
I think they're opening the floors that were not destroyed. They're saying the other floors have been so damaged that they can't open them anytime soon without major construction.
Well, and what the background here, if folks are just tuning in, they don't understand what we're talking about, is the civil courthouses, more specifically, the criminal courthouse got flooded, just something severe from Hurricane Harvey. There was a basement, doors.
I think they have some roof problems.
Sprinklers went off.
It wasn't roof problems. I actually remember this quite well because they asked me a little bit about the insurance. So, oh no, okay. And Chris Daniel was on here last week, and I know he's hustling. He's doing what he can, but there's only so much the district court can do. It's
He's
really
a great district clerk to deal with. I don't even know the man personally, but if I have problems on cases, he answers my messaging on Facebook.
I know.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, he hustles. So, criminal courthouse flooded. Property damage from Hurricane Harvey is devastating. That pain has been made worse by your insurance company underpaying or outright denying your claim, sometimes without even inspecting your home. I'm attorney Eric Dick, and it's my job to make insurance companies accountable. If you feel you've been taken advantage of by a greedy insurance company, call me today at 833-3HARVEY, 833-3HARVEY. That's 833-3HARVEY. Call me right now. All the cases got moved over to the civil courthouse. The old family courthouse, is it even being used anymore?
Yeah, it's being used for misdemeanors right now. The civil courthouse is felonies, and the old family courthouse is being misdemeanors.
Misdemeanors and 4D courts, which are the OAG courts.
Child support.
Yeah, the child support, the Title 4D, or the Attorney General brings them for to pay child support. Yeah. So, what kind of cases do you do, Russell?
I've tried everything from Class C tickets to murder. I mean,
Got a murder case?
Yeah, sure. DWIs, ag assaults.
DWI, you could have represented Duco.
Yeah, right. And you know what? If I did, no one would know about it.
Well, we'll get into that. That might be a good segue. So, if people want to find out about you, Russell, where do they look?
Well, you can type in my name in Google, and the first thing that comes up is my website, but officially it's newmanandrodriguez.com, and it gives us a little dossier about who we are, and, we're just fighters. We fight our cases, we don't plead, we rarely work them out, and we come out on top if you hire us.
Perfect.
Hang out between the courts and watch them run from one court to another?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. We're going to be right back, folks. Stay tuned. We're talking about Beto versus Cruz, the debate. Thanks, guys.
Oh, God.
She keeps me on track. The thing is, sometimes I'll forget. I won't catch it until it's like, you gotta take a break.
You want to hear the news?
Yeah. They say 2020 optimistic, by the way, to fix any of the collapse.
No, I don't doubt it.
So that's thinking 2021, 2022, it's saying 2020 is optimistic.
My hope is that they actually, the problem with the criminal courthouse, well, there's a lot of problems with the criminal courthouse, but the biggest problem that I saw is that you couldn't get into the darn thing. So if they are repairing, I hope they actually fix it so you can actually go up the elevator. How much are they spent? Might be good to start from the back.
Definitely.
is already flawed as it is. I come back, you got a whole building there?
Yeah. You know how long does it take you to get to the Gulf series? Sometimes it's time.
Even if I'm on bomb, well, why am I going to be selected in the vote? I'm going on time.
You gotta come and you got a big line from the courthouse.
That's just what happened to someone. I was in the DGA and they went through the metal detectors and everything at the Silver Courthouse. They told them they needed to go to the criminal court. They went over to the criminal court and said, no, you need to go back to the Silver Court. And by the time they got back, the line was like around the corner. And I'm pretty sure that they got their following up. Yep.
That's insane. And they wonder why people have big problems with criminal justice. They wonder why people are upset with criminal justice.
Yeah, I have to. Right, you were there on time. They tell you to go to the wrong building, and now
Your
they
bonds
revoke
revoked.
your bond and put you back in jail. That's
You gotta show up to court for 2 hours. They wonder. Huh.
Smoking always affected my daily life because I was a closet smoker. It really sort of controlled me through that. And my boss is saying that I can be too, so I don't believe the odor of smoking. There's no ash all over the car. I would say give it a try.
You can feel the unsatisfaction of smoking. If you can use a cigarette or another way, switch to good. Check out JUL.com. If you don't smoke a vape, don't stop. That's not smoking. When you're looking at the business, you need to new business. The problem is for the company. The system contains dozens.
Weird. So I wonder what it is working. Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, streaming, Twitch. Okay. How you guys on Instagram doing? Thumbs up?
I just can't believe they just let me have this show. I think they're just gotten desperate at KPRC. Find some poor lawyer on the side of the street and then just give them a show.
That's funny.
We'll host for food.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's the sign I had. Thanks, guys. I'm back. Eric Dick. Let's just kind of jump into it. Beto versus Cruz. What do you think, Russell? What do you think of the debate that happened last night?
I think Beto really has a good campaign on his hands. I think there are many people that are coming to my house day after day asking me to sign for them, and there's more signs on every lawn.
I keep getting text messages.
Yeah, I get text messages too. You know, he's really trying, and he has this grassroots campaign, but I don't think he's going to beat Cruz. I don't think he has what it takes. I think he's likable, but I don't think
he doesn't have the experience.
He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the aura about him to be our next senator.
Since when did his experience become a requirement to win an election?
I guess not. What
are you talking about, man?
Just in comparing the two, when you
Right.
look at the two of them, when you're trying to determine which do you feel will win in the long run, it just seems like Cruz seems more together. And I'm not saying we're supporting either. We're not getting into that drama here.
Well, in my opinion, I'm just talking about as far as the ability to get out the vote, make sure your voters, make sure your base shows up for the election. That's who determines. I mean, because there's a lot of great judicial candidates on the ballot.
Phenomenal. Sherry Dean. John
Judge
Schmoody.
Alicia
Alicia
York,
York, yes.
Millard.
Yes.
Prime.
It's Prine. Judge Prine is on there.
Charlie.
Right, but it's not.
Charlie.
Oh,
Hi, Judge
Charlie?
Prine.
He's probably watching.
If you're listening, hi,
He
Judge
probably
Prine.
is. He probably is.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh.
Yes, there are a lot
But
of
it's
people
not
on there.
based on that. It's based on who gets the people out to vote. I mean,
Right.
all those judges are in jeopardy of losing their jobs
Absolutely.
if the Republican
There's
base doesn't get out there and kick butt, or if the Democrats are some way super motivated to come out to vote.
Well, I see some of the judges that are really trying. They're going a little bit further than normal because I think they really do feel that they need to just advocate for themselves.
And I think they're right. Just me sitting on the sidelines here, I see that I've never seen so many signs. I've never seen so much support for a Democrat running for U.S. Senate. I'm not saying he's going to win because he's not. He doesn't have the ability to get Republicans to support him, and unfortunately, Texas is at least 2/3. I'll be generous and say 60% Republican. And I'm not saying the Republicans like Ted Cruz, because a lot of them don't. Shockingly, a very large amount of them don't. I'm sorry, folks, they don't. I have county commissioners in Harris County telling me what a SOB he is. And these are people in his own county. I'm not going to name names.
Not this
You're not
time.
safe on this show.
I'm not going to name names, but if you know me, you can deduct it pretty quick. But I have
4 of them.
I know there's only 4 of them. But anyway, my point is this: is that for Beto to win, and I think he had more of a shot prior to the debate. But for him to win, he has to have crossover appeal. When all he did is he showed he was a liberal Democrat.
Correct.
Moderates wanted to vote for him. They still don't like Ted Cruz. I don't know whether they're going to vote or not. Independents, they don't particularly like Ted Cruz, but they're afraid of Beto because he's a socialist. And maybe he's not per se a socialist, but he's very, very liberal, and that can't be denied. So that's it. I think the race truly is Beto's to lose, and he's losing it.
And you think if he was in the middle, he'd have a greater shot at that point?
I absolutely think I think he could win.
He'd win.
I think if he just told Republicans, "Hey guys, look, I'm Christian. I know I don't like abortion. I don't really support abortion, but I think you should have you should work there, or at least say, look, I'm just a senator. I'm not going to touch those rights. What I'm first as a Texan, I care about helping people."
And I care about keeping us secure. If he didn't have to say, I support building a wall. He just had to say, I understand that something needs to be out there to secure our borders, to take care of us as Texans.
And he was right about not having a wall, dividing your property. That happens along the border. You have the government actually build a wall and separate your property, where he's right on that. He is. You shouldn't have government going there and putting a big wall in the middle of your property.
Correct.
Taking away your real estate.
Probably pay your rent.
If they would, I wouldn't mind the wall.
Right.
Chip in.
So he's not off on that. I do support a wall being built. I just don't think you should destroy people's property building the wall.
Well, I thought he did a really good job of comparing him to Hillary. He kept
Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz. He kept saying you and Hillary, which is a really good strategy in my opinion. And he also started talking about him not being lockstep with Texas. That's not what he tried to almost make him the outsider, which I thought he did a really good job.
But what Ted also did a good job is acting like a jerk. And that's what he's really good at. And I don't mean to be anything, but whenever you had Beto at the very end try to be nice and Ted kind of being a little sarcastic, it didn't help him. There's a reason why this race is as close as it is. There has to be a reason why. And I don't buy into a bunch of liberals pouring money into it, because that happens all the time. The reason it's so close is because Ted Cruz is not likable.
Correct.
And the reason he's not likable is how he treats people. And this is what I tell all the politicians I meet, all the great judges that we named before. How you treat people, how you treat the people in your court, how you treat people that you don't even expect. That plays a giant role in politics.
And life.
And life, and business, and everything.
It resonates.
It does resonate.
Well, almost 4 million people did vote for Hillary Clinton, by the way. It was, what, a 43 to 53% Hillary versus Trump, what was it, 2 years ago. So there are a lot of Democrats in Texas who has the ability to vote for a veto.
What was the end numbers with Trump and Hillary?
I think Trump got about 53% to Hillary's 43%.
Well, there you go. So even
4.8 million to 3.8 million.
I'm going to give Beto the benefit of the doubt and say he gets the 48%.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the whole point that Eric's making, is that even if he needs to do something to make himself more likable to some of the Republicans that are on the fence, or the independents, because even if he gets what Hillary got, he's not going to win.
But that line was, you're still talking about half of the state. So in my opinion, a large portion of where Hillary votes came from was the same area that Cruz is on.
Well, what I think Eric is saying is that Cruz is vulnerable right now, and Beto could do a better job of grabbing the people that are on the fence by being more moderate, but he's not doing that. He has a shot, and he's not taking it. That's what I think.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But I don't think Beto is. I think he comes off as a nice guy, as a passionate guy.
Right.
I disagree with him strongly on a number of issues, but I think personality only goes so far. Though he has a good personality, he'd have to at least not scare Republicans, even just people that dislike Ted Cruz, to think that even though we dislike Ted Cruz strongly, we might dislike you more. That's
basically
that's it.
Well, you can't underestimate speeches and likability. There was a young black fella a couple of years back who won the presidency a couple times,
but he didn't win Texas. He won Harris County, and I will note. I'm not saying Beto won't win Harris County, and this is what we'll kind of maybe end on this, is that we have some really, really great people on the Republican side running for office. And what I've heard is there's been internal polling with the Republican Party. I've even heard that Dan Patrick has some serious apprehension that the Republicans lose Harris County.
Right.
And if that happens, it's going to be very sad, because people like Sherry Dean, and I've known her a long time, she is a very, very sweet woman.
Roy Moore, too. We almost forgot about
Judge Farr. Judge Farr is probably one of the most qualified family law judges on the bench. He's amazing, and he's up for re-election, and that's what's going to be difficult, is if people go out there and vote straight party, which I do not advocate. Please don't do that. If you don't know anything about these family law judges, message me on Facebook. I'm happy to discuss it with you. I'm happy to tell you why I support these judges, because they have experience. They do well. They do their job in such a manner that you are proud to work in Harris County.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week. You guys have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry.
That's okay.
I talk way too much.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Hope to hear from you soon. Hope to hear your comments. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot, everybody. We appreciate you watching.
Okay. Got that done. Still learning this.
Breaking the law, one meal at a time, feeding the homeless.
It is morally wrong to make it a crime to give food.
A Houston man who feeds the homeless because of his faith is suing the city, challenging the established charitable feeding ban. The often debated ordinance has banned sharing food in public groups of more than 5 people without city permission since 2012.
The city says you can give food to 5 people, not 6. What are you supposed to tell the 6th person? I met my quota today?
The city wants to dismiss Philip Paul Bryant's lawsuit.
That's a crime? What does this world come to? It's a sad day whenever trying to prevent a fellow human from starving is a crime.
The city says the ordinance aims to curb trespassing and littering, both of which were already prohibited in the municipal code prior to the passing of the ordinance. While some Houstonians are in support of the lawsuit,
I really hope he wins his case, and I really hope they lift those sanctions so we can be able to give more to the needy.
So if you're willing to help more than 5 homeless people, you should be able to do that.
some even challenge the city's support of their citizens.
The city isn't going to take care of their homeless people. That's their people. Somebody got to take care of them. So why can't we take care of them?
A question Houstonians will continue to ask as long as the ban remains.
Property damage from Hurricane Harvey is devastating. That pain has been made worse by your insurance company underpaying or outright denying your claim, sometimes without even inspecting your home. I'm attorney Eric Dick, and it's my job to make insurance companies accountable. If you feel you've been taken advantage of by a greedy insurance company, call me today at 833-3HARVEY, 833-3HARVEY. That's 833-3HARVEY. Call me right now.
Hi, everybody. About to start the radio show in a few minutes. I'll call in a little bit later.
I talk to him, and when his microphone goes off there,
If you want to chat with me, just, write some stuff.
I'm not shutting up. You can tell now at the end of the show, my boy, it's hoarse, it's dry, then I got to yell for the Longhorn game tonight. Oh my God!
Okay.
The less is more. The less I can talk to.
So whenever Chris gets here, he's going to text me.
So that's
I need you to run. We'll get him at the end of this first segment.
Okay.
I'm here for you.
He confirmed that he's going to be here?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to put as many links as I can on.
Is he for re-election right now?
He is.
And that includes a lot of things that we can talk about.
I didn't see the extra comment that we had about him last week, did you? I didn't see the comment we had about him last week.
I had a good comment about him. He's a good guy.
The value is sometimes the value of the funds is about 25% to 40%.
Okay.
You want to sell that building? Do it now. I will have a link to the actually. I already put a link to that. Breaks. And then the dongle, the middle one, the dongle with the dongle, the external adapter to plug your wired headphones in. You're going to buy that for $9. And then also the battery prices. I would recommend if you have older iPhone and you think your battery's weakening, do it before January 1st. So you've got about 3 months or so, 3.5 months or so. Because Apple quietly, they didn't want to talk about this earlier this week, but they raised the iPhone replacement battery prices from $29 up to $49, up to $69 in some cases. So go ahead and get your battery replaced. With that, I also want to point you to another one of my son technology sites. It is called iPartsVehicles.com. And if you want the latest on some of the new vehicles, if you're looking for a new car, a new truck, I just upgraded some things. So I had the Toyota Highlander, really cool Lexus 500, LS 500H, cool $103,000 I was doing in a few weeks ago. This week I'm in a Fiat 500, little 4-door Fiat type of thing, which is pretty sexy too. So I do cover the car industry, the tech industry, the bourbon industry, the travel industry, and of course, some of the high-tech industry too. With that, we're going to start the sign-off process. Shannon, thank you so much for keeping us on the air. Enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody out there, be safe. If you have questions, email. Go to hightechtexting.com. You can find mine Garfield. And you can get me here every Saturday on air. And for some reason you get bumped for radio for a football game, which we have to carry on air, you can go online. That's why you get me on the iHeartRadio app. And you can listen to me at your heart's content through the podcast. For all of us who have been part of the show, we do thank you for tuning in. My name is Garth. The show is officially over.
It's Saturday, September 15th. What's new today on the free iHeartRadio app? iHeartRadio! There's still time to join us VIP style at our iHeartRadio Music Festival in Vegas. Just listen to iHeartRadio Music Festival Radio in the app, and you're automatically entered. Plus, football's back. Check out our Jock Jams playlist to get all the stadium anthems with one tap. And don't forget, you've always got this station in your pocket, streaming 24/7 on iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio! All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free. For window replacement you can trust, visit GulfCoastWindows.com.
With Whisper Video and find out who wins our brand new F-150 Super Coach Rock. Saturday, September 15th, 6 to 8 p.m. Only at Planet Ford on 59 and up.
KPRC in Houston.
An iHeartRadio station.
From the Gallery Furniture Made in America Studios. Welcome to KPRC 950.
I didn't push anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't touch anything. Okay, I don't know why. It's all quiet here. The engineer hadn't told me what's going on, but we should be starting soon. So our guest today is going to be Chris Daniel, and I have Philip Paul Bryant, who's also going to be here too. He's co-hosting with me. He's playing wingman, guys. Oh, hey. Hey, everybody. We're waiting on Chris Daniel. He's notoriously late, the district clerk. This is where he showed me it was, if I could see. Okay, we'll talk about Hurricane Florence for a while. You know, just general hurricane season, kind of the hurricanes that are going on. I'm going to talk about, homeowners insurance to kind of tied with that, the type of policies you want insurance companies to avoid. Oh, talk about like Jerry Patterson opposing George P. Bush, Beto and Willie Nelson, and we're going to see what's going on with the district clerk in Harris County and talk about a number of other subjects. It's gone quiet. Interesting. Oh, wait. Hold on. We can talk to her. Let me remember how to do this. Hold on. There's a way to talk to her through this.
I have you in queue right now,
Okay.
so I can hear you.
Okay, cool. No, everything okay? We just don't. We don't hear anything over here.
Because it is an automation right now, and then as soon as we hit that first spot block, that first 1 minute commercial segment, then you're gonna hear it.
Cool. Then I'm just gonna hang out and just do what you say to do. Thank you. I was talking to the engineer, guys. That's who I was talking to because it just got real quiet here. I was confused. I'm still learning this stuff.
Today we're going to be talking about hurricane preparedness. We're here at the Eric Dick Show. We're live in the studio here. It's going to be fun. Special guest Chris Daniels, Harris County clerk, district clerk. So we're going to be talking about some disaster stuff. Stay tuned. This is Eric Dick Show live. Okay. See you guys right there.
Yeah, man, it looks like Florence is just it's a major flood.
Yeah.
That's really done a lot of damage.
Corey
Oh, there we are.
Design Traffic Center. Inbound side of the Southwest Freeway around Wesleyan. The backup stretching now from the West Park Tollway split. We also have heavy traffic on the west end moving northbound. That backup now stretching almost from Briar Forest, all due to the closure north of the Katy Freeway. I'm Stephen Foss in the 24-hour traffic center.
This report is brought to you by Gallery Furniture.
Mattress Mac Gallery Furniture saying you can't mark those big games on a frustrating backlog slip. Go out there, other furniture stores, backlog slip. Come to Gallery Furniture. Buy
Hey,
fabric or leather upholstered furniture by Solid Furniture made in America. Gallery Furniture delivers today.
This is Matt Thomas. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, you need professional help. Top Tax Defenders. If you received a letter from the IRS, don't ignore it. If you're being audited, have years of unfiled tax returns, or worse yet, you are being issued a wage garnishment or bank levy, you need Top Tax Defenders. It's simply too risky to fight the IRS without the knowledge and experience of Top Tax Defenders and their attorneys and tax specialists. Call them now, 713-489-7792. That's 713-489-7792 or online, toptaxdefenders.com.
Opinions provided on the Eric Dick Show are for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. You should contact your attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular issue or problem. The opinions expressed on the Eric Dick Show are that of the host and guests and do not reflect the opinions of this station or iHeartMedia.
When you've got big problems, you need to have a big, you need Eric Dick, homeowner insurance lawyer and trustee for the Harris County Department of Education. This is the Eric Dick Show.
All right, folks, I'm back for more, back for a lot of exciting worlds of lawyerism, politics, insurance law, and just all around, just whatever we feel like talking about, I guess. I have sitting with me today Philip Paul Bryant of Kojic Pack and many businesses.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Just jumping in, I'm a homeowner's insurance attorney, obviously, elected to the Harris County Department of Education, which most people don't even know exists. It's really a fascinating organization, which we should talk about sometime. And so Hurricane Florence, that hit, and it hit big.
Yeah.
It looks like it was reduced from a Cat 5 with just crazy windstorms, or maybe Cat 4 down to a Cat 1. But the big thing there, so you got 100-mile-an-hour winds. You got this just gigantic, like flooding event where you had waves, 80-foot waves, just enormous waves kind of coming through.
I think they said nearly 10 trillion gallons of water is going to be coming in.
Yeah, just a crazy amount of water coming in. And so, we experienced a heavy flooding event here as well with Hurricane Harvey. But so what I'd like to kind of talk about a little bit is what people don't realize is there's different types of kind of insurance that kind of play here when you have a flood event like we did have with Harvey and also with Florence. Florence seems like it's going to be just, if it's possible, worse flooding event than we had here with Harvey. But it's clear that it's gonna be bad, and I'm sorry for everyone out there having to go through that. But so what we can kind of talk about a little bit is your basic different types of policies where you have your homeowner's insurance, your typical, you know, your windstorm, fire, theft, that type of insurance. That's where you see normally advertised with your State Farm, Farmers, AAA, what have you. Then you also have, you know, NFIP, which is your National Flood Insurance Program. Now that's an interesting type of policy, and that is it's a government kind of funded, subsidized technically, which there gets all sorts of ethical and interesting questions on whether or not we should subsidize insurance. And there's a long history with NFIP. And in Texas and in other coastal regions, you have like some type of government funded or even government backed windstorm insurance, which we have Texas windstorm insurance. And there's some serious problems we've been having with Texas windstorm insurance since Hurricane Harvey. But looking at Florence, like it looks like it's going to be bad. I mean, you could, Philip, did you see any of the articles or where how big this storm was? Because it was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's, and obviously coming out of Harvey last year, so we're just I don't know if there's a such thing as hurricane PTSD, but just seeing water and seeing all this stuff again just kind of scares you, and it's also kind of since we did experience it here firsthand last year, it kind of makes us also want to kind of reach out, donate some stuff. You know, a lot of us have extra clothes and shoes and toiletries, and so I from the people I've been speaking with, just want to know how they can be involved and what they can do to try to help the Carolinas.
That's right. So, you know, we got flooded really bad, and a person that really did a good job with the flooding in Harris County, we actually have here today, Chris Daniel, and he can tell us all about, you know, the flooding and just the craziness.
Harris County District Clerk.
That is Harris County District Court.
8, 10 years, 100 years now, man. He's
about 7.5, 8 years. And Eric, it's a real pleasure as your Harris County District Clerk to be here today, especially on your new radio program.
Well, it's great for you to be here, and of all days, you know, a day not far from whenever Harvey hit, and when we had this horrible tragedy in the Carolinas. And I want to thank you very much because you did such a good job dealing with all the flooding in Harris County that I don't think anybody wanted, and no one wanted to deal with that job. Hi, this is Eric Dick, and I think it is important you know your rights. If your homeowner's insurance company has denied or underpaid your claim, you have the right to hire an attorney. You have the right to call me for a free consultation at 833-7-RIGHTS. That's 833-7-RIGHTS. Don't let your homeowner's insurance company take advantage of you. Call me today at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Has your homeowner's insurance claim been denied or underpaid? Call Dick Law Firm at 833-7-RIGHTS.
You did such a good job with that.
Well, I appreciate that. And there's a lot of backstory that never got told by the media, not because they weren't trying to cover it, but because there were so many heroes and unsung heroes of Harvey. To put it in context for the listeners, as a native Houstonian, I've been personally flooded twice in the city of Jersey Village in 1998 and again in Tropical Storm Allison in 2001. And during Harvey, my own mother lost everything in her home in Friendswood as 5 feet of water descended into her house. And it is an unfortunate experience of mine to have to deal with flooding in Houston, especially with the Memorial Day flood and the Tax Day flood, and how we practiced our disaster plans from both those floods and managed the courthouse and managed the dockets and managed canceling jury service and getting the word out to the public that, hey, do not drive into high water, turn around, don't drown,
at the courthouse. And all that prepared us for Harvey, so that when other agencies had not yet practiced their disaster plan, we were already set up days before with emergency computers and equipments and generators in the various places where we were supposed to be for emergency court.
Well, you guys still, sorry, Eric, but you guys still have a lot of house guests as a result of Hurricane Harvey. I know the criminal court judges and team is hanging out in your building. How does that feel, and what's the plan there?
It's a new normal, and we are all getting along now. There were some growing pains initially. I mean, let's be honest. We had one judge try to throw another judge in jail for not getting off the bench fast enough.
Wow.
And we had some other judges basically kick the DAs out of their suite area into the hallway. And then another judge come back and says, no, you can't be out in the hallway, both claiming fire code violations. But it is a new normal. We are now getting along fine. And unfortunately, it is predicted that not till the middle towards end of 2020 will we be back in that particular building. But when we do get back into that building fully, we're going to have a whole bunch of new elevators, a whole bunch of more elevators, more space in general, because the sheriff is not really moving back into that building. And it's going to be a great facility going forward.
So just a couple things. One, I think would be important for the listeners is to explain what you actually, what the district clerk does, because I think a lot of people have no clue what Harris County District Clerk is.
The district clerk's office is a statutory office that was created in response to the growth needed in Texas. The basic founding fathers of Texas had your basic 6 or 7 offices: treasurer, sheriff, county clerk, county judge, et cetera, et cetera. But as time progressed, it was very clear you needed more courts. So they created state district courts, your old-fashioned circuit courts where folks would ride on horse and buggy from county to county. And then you had to have a clerk to keep those records. In all other states, the title would be clerk of the court. In Texas, it's the district clerk for the district judges.
Cool. And so your role, you know, currently as a district clerk, what kind of do you do day to day?
Call me the traffic cop, if you will, of all filings going in and out of the courthouse. So when Mr. Dick yourself files something in our courthouse, you would either file that electronically, preferably, or by paper, and we would accept it and then hand it off to a randomly assigned judge for it to then proceed judicially. And then the judge would then assign electronically, hopefully, his order at the end of the case, and you would have an entire file that would normally be paper, by the way, now electronic for anybody to use, view, etc. And that not only saves taxpayer money long term, but it makes it faster and easier, better for justice to proceed. But I also handle, and very unpopular duty, by the way, but a basic constitutional duty, your fundamental right to serve on jury duty here in Harris County.
Oh boy, I bet you're popular, you know, everywhere you go.
Unpopular for somebody in Harris County at least once every 3 years. Now, you'd be surprised how many people want to serve and want to be on a jury. And as time goes forward, we're going to continue to implement technology to make that faster, easier, and better as well. The other major function that we do, by the way, that most people don't realize, is we do passports.
Well, that's excellent. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about a lot of great stuff with Chris Daniel. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Eric Dick and Philip Paul Bryant's
wingman.
He's wingman in it today. Thanks, guys.
I'm still learning the triggers.
She was trying to tell us I wouldn't.
Now, and then we can keep talking about the flood. We can talk about how.
Yeah, we'll talk about the flood for a while. We got a bit of time. I wanted to kind of go into some other stuff. They want me to talk about Prop B, which I want to talk about Prop B anyway. And then we can talk about some political stuff too. Like I liked what was going on with Patterson and Bush. I think that's kind of interesting. At least deserves discussion. Sure. We'll just run into it. And we got a good Facebook Live audience going.
The family members of Veterans, the supporters of Veterans. I want to thank all you small businesses out there.
Oh man! So you made it.
Whether you have cash or
well, that 16 curve. Once I got trapped, having to go in that one exit, was toast.
That's a weekend too. Yeah, it's bad. It's worth it. With PTSD, have a place to go.
So they let you in. They just let you right in.
It's 877-717-PTSD. That's 877-717-7870.
You know, I look official.
877-717-PTSD veterans.
Oh, hey, Philip, are you going live as well? Cool.
We're all behind you. We're all here from you. There is
Cool,
an answer.
cool.
Call Camp Hope. It's free to you. 877-717-PTSD.
This is your opponent, and I think it's important that you know your rights.
Have they doing anything? Or they just
Sat next to me today at the Delta Sigma Theta event.
You have the right to call me for free consultation.
It seemed pretty serious.
7 rights.
She didn't have any money,
337
so
rights.
she's relying on.
Don't let your homeowners insurance company take advantage of you.
Oh, you never know what's
Call
gonna.
me today at 833-7 rights.
As your homeowner's insurance
You never know
claim
what's going to
been
happen.
denied or underpaid,
Hey guys, how are y'all
call
doing?
law firm at
You never know what's going to happen. It could go.
833-7 rights.
I think we can talk about that some.
Well, occasionally I like to stop and just say thanks to all
And you've
the
done,
good
to be
folks
fair,
do for us.
up and down, left
Our
and right. You've
friends
done
at
a good
US
job.
Coins have
You
been
really
sponsoring
have.
the show.
We ain't finished.
I'm not saying you are, but well, we can talk about it's like the connection you've done, use social media, interact more with all the lawyers,
You are selling your coins.
use
you are
their
bringing
information, family,
them to US Coins.
kind of try to
Coming in,
change.
you're bragging on the show, and we appreciate it. You're
I
having a
know.
great experience.
Also work
US
with the
Coins,
judges.
I-10 outside the loop.
It's the thing of family law, where you get some hearings,
713-464-6860.
Come on, yeah, we're
This is
piloting
what
that right
comes.
now
You
with
owe
David Stark's court.
$10,000 or more to the IRS.
You want me to talk about that?
Professional help. Top
Yeah.
tax defenders. If you receive a letter from the
E-resets
IRS,
and
don't ignore it.
e-hearings.
If you're being audited, have years of unfiled tax returns, or worse yet,
Just the
you are
lawyers
being
show.
issued a wage judgment or bank
People
levy
listen to lawyers,
using
they like
top
to know
tax
that.
defenders. It's simply too
That's good.
risky to
Then
fight
you
the
are.
IRS without the
Good.
knowledge and
Also for
experience
the
of top
lawyers
tax
listening,
defenders
kind of know
and their
who
attorneys
you
and tax
are.
specialists.
Yeah,
Call them
access,
now, 713-489-7792. That's 713-489-7792 or online,
Make it easier for people to
toptaxdefenders.com.
deal with.
Try new endless pan pizzas at
Really
Seasons,
have.
available in both Meat Eater and Supreme. Now
Are we allowed to
open,
talk about the
starting
Texas
at
Lawyer
$5.99.
Facebook
It's
page
the
since
best
that's not
price for
political?
endless pan pizza, only at Seasons. Price and participation
That's
vary.
fine.
Restrictions
The
apply.
only
Visit
thing that might mean is
Seasons.com/.
that Burgess, she wants to come up here. She can. I don't care. I'll talk to Marilyn. What? They're looking at me. What are you guys trying to tell me?
Should we be talking right now?
No, I was just playing on the internet, talking to all my friends on Facebook. That's what I was doing. Anyway, so we're back. We're back with my radio show, and Philip Paul Bryant is helping me out today. He is just a fantastic go-getter, and our special guest today is the district clerk,
The one and only.
and Chris Daniel. What we're talking about is how Hurricane Harvey really devastated Houston. But what I'd like to talk about is some of the great things that Chris Daniel has done with the role as district clerk, made kind of the office more accessible to fellow lawyers. He's been, to be fair, he's been just a fantastic district clerk. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, he really has tried, and I can tell. But so tell me, Chris, about all the stuff you've done.
Sure. So electronic courts, for example, started as a pilot program in 2002 under Charles Baccaris with 2 basic courts, and was expanded under subsequent district clerks up to 8 courts with a few permissible courts. And under our administration, we went totally electronic in all civil courts. By the time the mandates came down for family courts to go electronic, we were already halfway there. And by 2015, all family courts were electronic. And with that, we had another mandate come down by the Texas Supreme Court that we need to have criminal courts electronic, with the exception of juvenile.
And that the criminal courts, that you're talking about criminal discovery, which is kind of you've just completely opened the door, which is kind of a good thing, I think. But so tell me about the criminal discovery.
Well, through our website, as you're tied to the case as an attorney, you can now get directly from the DA's office all their electronic discovery videos, DWI videos in particular. And the whole purpose is to make it faster, easier, better for the attorneys to represent their clients and seek justice.
Now, what's interesting, I kind of want to give a little backstory here, is so when I started practicing law about 10 years ago, I did a number of criminal cases. How you used to get your files, you'd have to,
and usually the DA would freely give you their stuff, but sometimes they really didn't have to. And you could serve them discovery. So you couldn't just mail them that. You'd have to go to the court, you know, kind of file something at the courthouse. So you'd have to either wait for a hearing or actually drive down there, file this stuff. And it was really a pain, you know, where to do any type of discovery. But that's gone now. So now attorneys, you know, doing criminal defense work in their comfort of their own home in their pajamas at, you know, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever time, they can e-file their discovery to the, you know, the DA's office, and it's a complete different world. And we aren't, you know, we may have been. Are there other counties that do this?
No, in fact, Fort Worth in Dallas were trying to do something along these lines, and the best they could do was get the charging instruments online. Which is also part of our ongoing process, because not only did the Supreme Court mandate that something be filed electronically into the case, but we recognized that to be totally electronic, we had to have all facets of justice electronic. That includes e-warrants, e-subpoenas, e-citations, and so on and so on.
So I just want to kind of step back. You're saying no other county in Texas out of the 254 counties does electronic discovery for criminal cases?
Not that to my knowledge. Most counties are accepting electronic filings per se, and then going behind the filings back and printing it out on a printer and sticking it in the paper file, which defeats the whole purpose of electronic filing. The goal is to not only be faster, easier, better, and more indexed so that the attorneys can do a basic Google search on their own case and find rapidly what they need to represent their client, but to save taxpayer money.
And be environmentally friendly as well.
Well, that's a token benefit, because when you're saving trees, you're also not having to pay for all that toner and printers and paper and so on and so on, plus personnel.
Well, it just makes basic sense. Easier access to justice, costs people less money.
But it's also a safety issue. When we implemented e-subpoenas, that saved 32 positions for the sheriff's office to then put back into the courtroom as bailiffs that no longer had to process subpoenas, because it was a automated electronic process. And that came vital, especially after Harvey, where we were doubled up in the courthouse.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, you've really done a good job there. So how about like where you've tied in social media to the district clerk's office? Why don't you talk?
I have a love-hate relationship with social media. My first race was for the Board of Trustees for Lone Star College System, of which I won. And I beat the board chairman by using a little-known website called MySpace. And MySpace was revolutionary at that time. And now we're having Facebook and Twitter and so forth. And I have attorneys even contact me on LinkedIn and Nextdoor, the app. And what we do with all that is when they contact me, I personally respond. We get their email address, and we get them funneled to the right location to get their problem resolved. And the beauty of that is that, especially on the Texas Lawyer Forum on Facebook, the various groups and pages, they're able to not only get their question answered, but help other lawyers who might have a similar question get their question answered. It's not always the answer they want to hear. For example, there's a snafu going on like right now with sensitive data documents, where the Texas Supreme Court has asininely created a category of sensitive data, where when you file something electronically, and I'm sorry to get technical, audience, but when you file something electronically and you market sensitive data to protect your client's best interest, well, guess what? We're not allowed to show that online at all. That became such a problem because if Eric files something, he knows he files something and I can't show it. How do we explain that? So we created an electronic index that at least showed that it had been filed, but you still had to download and view elsewhere. You couldn't view it online. And that has created a whole bunch of headaches for lawyers out there with this new restricted category. But again, that's just trying to solve the Supreme Court's problem for them.
Well, it sounds like you've done the best you can do. Yeah, so
he also implemented passports in his building, because that wasn't done before under I think Jackson.
That wasn't done under any district clerk in Texas, except for in Harris County, except for the surrounding counties. And so we decided to take the bull by the horns and say, look, Stan's right here with his birth certificates. Why can't we just finish the gap and come up with a passport service? I'm sorry, the post office has set the bar so low that when we get these comment cards coming in about how wonderful we are, it's like, well, it's a no-brainer. We want to serve you, public. We want you to come in and have the best experience possible while you're already downtown for an unfortunate reason in court, or to get a birth certificate, a marriage license, a DBA for your new business, a liquor license for that kind of business, or you're serving jury duty. Come on down anyway and get your passport. Get a new passport, get it renewed. And oh, by the way, we go through Philadelphia instead of Baltimore, and therefore our passports are processed faster. And therefore, it takes an average of about 14 business days instead of 4 to 6 weeks to get your passport back.
One other question. I know a lot of viewers are wanting to know, is there something that that can be done about those lines in the morning to get into the court? And I assume it's a lot of it is because of the criminal court being combined.
Correct. Now, once we're back in the jury assembly building, which unfortunately became an unnecessary.
Hi, this is Eric Dick, and I think it's important that you know your rights. If your homeowner's insurance company has denied or underpaid your claim, you have the right to hire an attorney. You have the right to call me for a free consultation at 833-7-RIGHTS. That's 833-7-RIGHTS. Don't let your homeowner's insurance company take advantage of you. Call me today at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Has your homeowner's insurance claim been denied or underpaid? Call Dick Law Firm at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Feeding rocks. It should not be a crime to feed the homeless. Feeding rocks. A good Samaritan shouldn't be punished for acts of kindness. Feeding rocks. Because it's more of a crime to turn your back on a starving person. Feeding rocks. You shouldn't go to jail for sharing food. Feeding rocks. You can't in good conscience let a hungry person starve. Feeding rocks. Help us legalize charity. Go online and sign the petition. www.feeding.rocks. Feeding rocks.
Necessary 11-foot deep swimming pool during Harvey. Once we're back in that building, a lot of those lines will go away automatically. And it has a beautiful remodel set where it has its own kiosks and its own covered entryway. But Constable Precinct 1, Alan Rosen, actually handles the security that comes in and out of the courthouse. And he has been piloting programs to put people through the other courthouse security doors so that they're not having to necessarily bottleneck right there at the front door. But they could go to the juvenile building, or they can go to other buildings where there are metal detectors. We can't get rid of the metal detectors. We've got to keep our judges and our lawyers safe. Right. We're dealing with a lot of hot topics at the courthouse: divorces, criminal cases, etc. Right. And we need to keep everybody safe.
Feeding the homeless.
Feeding the homeless. But at the end of the day, thankfully, Constable Rosen is working hand in hand with our office to pilot these different ways to get people funneled into the courthouse through other buildings.
Sure. We're going to take a break.
That's that music.
Yeah, that's the music. They're giving me a hint. This is Eric Dick. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Chris Daniel and Philip Paul Bryant's right here with me. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Too fast? Too much? No, that's fine. Wasn't too technical, was it, Brian?
Yeah. Some people are you still talking about MySpace? You're talking about what dial-up internet back then?
Tom was a fan, man.
Yeah, you just told me to close your MySpace account, by the way.
Is it still up? I thought I deleted it. I deleted it 10 years ago.
Oh man, I never had a MySpace. That was for musicians or something.
Oh,
back on Facebook Live?
I'm going to talk some.
Feeding rocks. Can't in good conscience let a hungry person starve. Feeding rocks. Help us legalize charity. Go online and sign a petition. www.feeding.rocks. Feeding Rocks.
A lot of good
At
people
Lone Star Chevy,
watching.
save $15,000 on a brand new 2015
What they want, I put the number.
LT Crew
You put it on your-
Cab.
I put it on the
Log
Facebook.
at LoneStarChevrolet.com.
You guys want to call in? Call in.
Come see us at 298
Let's go. Let's talk about maybe. Let's talk about politics a little bit.
Hey, this is Mario Lopez. So I'm planning to celebrate.
There's a lot of juicy stuff to talk about. A lot of juicy stuff to talk about.
Just stay the night. Don't drink and drive. It's just not worth it. Because the DWI would cost you up to $17,000.
We had the Lincoln today in the Yes, the Spotters Parade.
You could also lose your license. So plan
We're talking about
For the Monopoly car that we use in all our parades.
Go to jail. So that's it from Textile.
And I had a parade today. I had a block walk kickoff, and I had this candidate for him. And now y'all.
Just hustling. Hustling. It is grinding.
I've been hustling.
Been up till what, 7 in the morning? Run around.
You talking local, state, or national politics?
I want to talk about Jerry Patterson, where he's a Republican and he endorsed George P. Bush's opponent. And the reason why and all that, I think that's kind of interesting. Is at least people are talking about that. I'd also like to talk about a lot of people are upset that Willie Nelson's playing for Beto. And just kind of, I think Cruz is going to win that. I'm voting for Cruz, but that's an interesting. I think there's something there, at least interesting.
Disclaimer: Geico cannot guarantee you will be close as happy as a clam. Unquote. The Geico legal team cannot
I
accurately
think it was pretty neck and neck until the national party starts.
They poured a lot of money into it because they got scared.
What's they really happy about? Clams are like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today.
What's that going to do? I don't know.
That's so fun to say. What were we talking
And also, we need to talk about Prompt B with the firefighters.
Yeah. I meant to go by there and get a couple of
It
times.
feels sometimes like everything in life has gone against us. Take a break from anxiety. And
I'll
fear.
explain some of the city council issues with the Cenotaph in San Antonio
Right here.
and how they have already
9:50 a.m.
kind of boxed Bush in a little bit with regard to that.
Okay.
Now, I mean, he needs to take a leadership stand. Yeah, they already voted. Yeah, they've already.
I think they're hey guys, I'm back. Okay, so we got Chris Daniel here, we got Philip Paul Bryant, and let's talk about some politics. I know everybody loves talking about politics and maybe some gossip, and let's see where it goes.
Man, it's how you lose more friends.
Politics.
It's how you lose more friends.
Well, you know, I don't have many friends speaking. Right. When you don't have any, it's not hard to lose them. Okay, so what I found interesting is one of the person I think highly of is Bonnie Lugo was having a bit of a fit about how Jerry Patterson endorsed George P. Bush's opponent. And the whole kind of backstory, there's a lot of backstory with the Bushes and Trump and all that type of stuff. But I think really kind of the tie-in here and why a lot of people are just genuinely upset with the Bushes is George P. Bush's role with the Alamo and how a lot of people like my family were tied. We have relatives that fought in the Alamo. We have relatives basically in every Texas war. The first alcalde of Columbus is a relative. It's just like the history, at least in my family, and many other residents in Texas, they have such a deep Texas history. And they're just highly offended is in how he's trying to commercialize, in essence, the Alamo. Have you heard anything? What do you think about that, Chris?
You know, it is a time for leadership. And I think with the best of intentions, the current land commissioner's office delved into trying to expand, preserve, and protect the Alamo. And unfortunately, too many businessmen and too many consultants got involved, particularly those that were not from Texas. And we have a mess on our hands. And a lot of it is a technical issue that is more complicated than a 20-second soundbite. For example, most folks don't know that the San Antonio City Council has already voted and kind of boxed Bush in as far as moving the cenotaph. the wonderful monument that's been there for over 100 years, that's my understanding, that really celebrates the defenders and heroes, State Board of Education, of the Alamo. And what the problem with that is that once they have by ordinance said that you shall move this, unless he steps up as a leader and says the dickens with your city council ordinance, you know, it looks like he's kind of kowtowing to what they're demanding, what this Democrat city council is demanding.
I mean, it is that, and that's true. He doesn't seem to really.
It's a time for leadership.
He's not. He doesn't seem like he's listening to his supporters. At least he's not listening to, you know, people in the Republican Party that have deep, you know, Texas roots, that just kind of have an emotional connection to, you know, all this historical type of stuff, especially in an environment where we're looking at, you know, maybe removing Sam Houston's statue, which I strongly disagree with. But you have that type of environment, and a lot of people are emotional about this.
This becomes a reduction to absurdity, reductio ad absurdum, to make a legal term. And at some point, we are doing our children, our grandchildren, our posterity a disservice by destroying history. And in some cases, it is better to preserve a bad history in place as a warning than it is to just destroy it and whitewash it and sweep it under the rug.
And I agree with that. I mean, that's a completely different topic. If you're talking about Confederacy and the Civil War, that's a completely
hey man,
different
you brought
topic.
that up. I was just talking about history in general.
But if you're talking about Texas history, it's like something just vastly different, because you had people that were like Texas leaders refusing to you know, succeed, refusing to go through that whole thing you know, happening.
Well, let's take it back to the Alamo. You were talking about history here, and I was talking about tearing down history and sweeping history under the rug. Part of the problem with the expanded Alamo plan, or the criticism of the expanded Alamo plan, was you had an artist from Philadelphia who was trying to kind of de-emphasize the Battle of the Alamo itself and expand the 30,000-year history of what happened in that San Antonio region. And the problem is that that's not why people come to San Antonio. They don't come to San Antonio even to find out more about the Rough Riders, who were trained in the backyard of the Alamo, who were key and vital to not only the future of President Theodore Roosevelt, but also the Spanish-American War. They come because of the Battle of the Alamo, the icon of the battle. And for an outside Yankee to come in here and basically de-emphasize the purpose of people coming to the Alamo and expanding it the way that he did to increase the emphasis on 30,000 year history, that again is, you're not communicating to your Texas base, you're not communicating to your outside visitors who come to this UNESCO site, and your folks that want to know more about why Texans are this independent, can-do spirit.
Yeah, I agree. And it's bad news whenever you're messing with the Alamo. And it can't get any more Texas than the Alamo. People jump up and down. They have a strong emotional connection. But how about the fact that Jerry Patterson, a pretty well-known, you know, in a lot of different pockets of the Republican Party, you have him actually endorsing a Democrat, which is, you know, a big no-no. But and what do you think about that?
I think he's making a statement. He must also be aware that he's never going to run for office again, because when people cross party lines to endorse Democrats, particularly in a race that's clearly going to be won by the Republican, you're committing political suicide. So he must firmly believe that this is his hill to die upon, and that he is going to try to make a statement to all that the handling of the Alamo has not been the way that he would have handled it, and that with the best of intentions, more leadership needs to step up to get the show on the road to protect Texas history.
I'll just be upfront. I can't vote for Bush, and I don't think I can vote for the Democrat either. But there's no way I'm going to vote for George P. Bush. Just no way. I think too many of my family members would be upset with me, both living and deceased. But so do you have any opinions on the Alamo, Philip?
Yeah, well, I think I was more concerned. I won't say concerned. I don't necessarily accept the fact that it would be political suicide to step across the aisle. I think in our PAC, Houston area coaching PAC, we do this on a regular basis. I think you have to judge and look at the candidates for who they are, what they stand for, their background, some of their vision as well. Because I know Democrats that love Chris Daniels.
That's true. That's true.
And it's not necessarily because he's a Republican. It's because they think he knows what he's doing. They believe in the direction he's taking the district clerk's office, and it also works on the other side as well. Republicans just can't vote for someone just because they're Republican. Democrats can't vote for someone just because they're Democrat. I know we say it every election cycle, and I know every election cycle they go in and they just click that straight ticket candidate. But I think we have to go down ballot, look and see exactly who's on the ballot, what they're standing for. And a lot of it is kind of hard because you got 70 or 80 different elections, just for the judges. And then you got
75 judges on the ballot. We set the Guinness Book of World Records at one point for having one of the longest ballots in North America.
Right. So I know it's difficult to do research on a couple hundred candidates just to go vote, but it's our civic duty. People sacrifice for our right to vote and sacrifice to get there, and it does them justice because these people do affect our daily lives. Whether we like to admit to it or not.
Well, to be fair, I don't disagree with anything you just said, Phil. I just think that for Jerry to make such a bold statement in a statewide race. He must think that he's not going to run for anything in the future. Now, there's a maxim that my favorite state rep from Kingwood has to say, Dan Huberty, which is if you're explaining, you're losing. And where George P. Bush has himself in the corner right now is that in order to explain this very complicated and very hot topic of the Alamo and where its future is going, he has to go very detailed into a lot of technicalities that the listeners aren't willing to take the time to read about or listen to about. And when you're explaining, you're losing.
So we're talking about statewide races. Let's go to another race that's kind of a bit controversial, is the Ted Cruz versus Beto. And I find that interesting. You have the National Party, you have Trump coming down supporting Ted Cruz, but you also have Willie Nelson, who's having, doing some stuff for, Beto. You have a bunch of national money from the Republican Party being poured into Ted Cruz's race because there's genuine fear that he may lose the race. I kind of am. I doubt it, but there is truly genuine fear around a number of pockets. And you also have the polling kind of tightening. One poll at least had it one percentage vote away. Some others 4 or 5, points away. Philip, why don't you start off? What do you think about that?
I think it's a referendum on Trump. I think Ted Cruz and Donald Trump are, I wouldn't call them best friends or second best friends in the whole wide world, but they're pretty aligned as well as some of their politics. And so for this race to even make the headline is, you're right. I definitely think that the numbers show that a Republican, whether it be Ted Cruz or whoever, the numbers show that should be a Republican seat. But for it to even be close or to even be a part of our conversation just shows you that not necessarily Ted Cruz, but in my opinion, his connection to Trump, I think is more so a vote against Trump in that particular seat, in my opinion. And I get them emails from the Democratic Party, the Harris County Party, and so I see the angle they're using as far as fundraising.
Have you suffered property damage and had your insurance claim denied?
Hurricane Harvey may be the most costly storm in history. And if your home was damaged and your insurance company did you wrong, well, this is America. We have rights. You have the right to hire an attorney and sue them. You have the right to call me for a free consultation. at 833-3-HARVEY. That's 833-3-HARVEY. Don't let your insurance company take advantage of you. There's always hope. Call me today at 833-3-HARVEY.
And get out the vote efforts, and they're making that connection.
But what about like the play that Ted Cruz isn't a likable person and that Beto is a much more likable person, a nicer person? And do you see that
a little bit more charismatic?
I see that being pushed, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that. I just see that being pushed. What do you think, Chris?
You know, the reason why the National Party is concerned about this race is they're seeing what I'm seeing, where Beto has a rally in Grimes County, Texas. You know what's in Grimes County, Texas? Bunch of cattle and a company that builds the most drill pipe in North America. That's it. And here you have 400 people show up to a rally in Grimes County, Texas. When you have that kind of phenomena occurring, even if it's just every Democrat was 400, you know, it is amazing to see that this enthusiasm is going on across the board, and that's why people are scared about what's happening with Beto. That's why they're concerned.
We'll dig more into it in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll get back on that, and maybe finish up with Prop B.
Yeah.
I think it's good stuff. Just people are fascinated by it. It's good stuff to talk about. You don't think so? I think it's
well. So what I'm going to lead into about Beto is how he's basically using Trump tactics to define the race, and how Ted has waited too long to take control.
Well, winding people up. Get along and live.
I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think it's more fascinating than anything.
It's that time of the year.
Well, then I'll follow that with getting technical about straight ticket voting and how
that's true.
You know, Beto is a threat. Because if a Republican votes for Beto and they don't do the normal thing where you pull the lever and then change your vote, then they're going to have to vote all the way down the ballot. And after 75 judges, they may just forget to vote for their county judge.
About 2 years from now, because that's going to happen in 2 years from now.
That's right. That's right. And frankly, you don't. If you owe $10,000,
All right, if you want to make that, I see the pitch.
You had to go down the Confederate statue thing, huh? I wasn't talking about that.
I had to go down on it a second. I had to go down on a second. I had to just kind of flirt with it. Just see what. I had to go with it for a second.
That's a no-win. There are people winning on that.
No, we didn't go into too deep. I had to go to it for a second. You know, I'm a sucker.
Just the salt is just blowing up your phone as we speak.
And I think it's important that you know your rights. If your homeowner's insurance company is denied or underpaid your claim, you have the right to hire an attorney. You have the right to call me for free consultation at 833-7-RIGHTS. That's 833-7-RIGHTS. Don't let your homeowner's insurance company take advantage of you. Call me today at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Has your homeowner's insurance claim been denied or underpaid? Call Dick Law Firm at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Hurricane Harvey hit us all. It feels sometimes like
man,
life has gone against us. Take a break from anxiety and fear.
So we had a 2-week break. Yeah, we'll be back on this more. It's kind of fun.
Right.
How long's your show?
Just an hour.
Oh, we're almost gone.
Business, you wear many hats.
That's
The
fine.
new business
Finish it up.
The buying toner for the
How about 12 more minutes?
The sifting through tons of resumes hat. You can throw away that last hat.
Yeah, it is. I just don't think I have the commitment or energy to do much more.
But I know it's tough for all these radio guys. I mean, think about Michael Berry having to come up with an hour every day.
Yeah, he also doesn't have a job, and not elected. That's all he does.
I
His
just
job
made
is.
hundreds of dollars by switching to
he's a good guy,
Geico.
but it's
I'm
just
as
a lot.
happy as a clam.
I don't necessarily want to be a radio personality. It's fun. I enjoy talking about stuff. Enjoy all the friends.
Yeah, you missed out meeting Steve Johnson from KLOL.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, Danny wanted to go out. I can only do so much. Can only do so much.
Geico. 15 minutes.
Get lost. He was nearby. When he hit the other side of the street.
Okay.
Sound
Hey,
better.
guys, we're back. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to put a nice, good, tight bow on it. We were talking about Beto's race with Ted Cruz, and Chris Daniel was pontificating on, as he does from time to time, on some very interesting and intellectually stimulating views on that race. You want to go back and...
You betcha. With Robert Francis O'Rourke, the Irishman from El Paso, he is defining his race the way that Donald Trump used the media against the Democratic Party. And he is defining his race in such a way that Ted Cruz has waited way too late to get back on offense and to take the definition away. And so now you have Ted Cruz basically scrambling, whereas before he was almost kind of refusing to debate Beto. Now you have Beto saying, hey, I'm too popular. I'm on this show, on that show, and national media here, national media there. Why on earth would I waste my unearned popularity to lose it all in a debate to a clearly master debater that would be very, very good at basically dissecting and eviscerating Beto on any number of topics. At this point, it is a ground game, and there's going to be a lot of national media coming in. But here's my concern, Eric. With Philip Paul Bryant votes straight Republican normally, which I know he doesn't, but if he were to, and now all of a sudden he's enamored by this John F. Kennedy-esque candidate on the Democrat side, so he decides to vote for Beto. If he doesn't do the educated thing, which is to vote straight and then circle back and vote for Beto, if he goes one by one, by the time he gets halfway down the ballot, he may say, the dickens with this, I've got lunch, I've got plans, I've got to get on a radio show with Eric Dick, and decide to quit voting. And then he might miss our wonderful county judge. He might miss the district clerk's race, the county clerk's race, the county treasurer's race. He might miss voting for the propositions. And that is a terrible thing, because that is what the party fears, is somebody is going to be enamored by Beto and say, well, I love Greg Abbott. Yeah, I love all these other races, but I'm a little tired because I forgot to vote straight and then circle back and change a race.
I hope they forget George P. Bush. If they are going to forget anybody, they need to miss that one. Let's kind of what do you think about this Prop B? A lot of people have been talking about Prop B, and I love the firefighters. I can't help but want to support them, and I do support them in Prop B. But Chris, what do you think about Prop B?
As a non-resident of the city of Houston, it would be a shame for me to communicate on this, but I'll go ahead anyway. I'm basically supported by the base of both sides. I'm openly endorsed by HPLU, full disclosure, and I hope to get the endorsement of the Firefighters Union as well, because I'm already endorsed by the rest of their AFL-CIO brethren. At the same time, I understand why we got to where we are. We're in a situation where the cops have been basically screwed with by the various mayors since Mayor Lee Brown. And these issues didn't go away. And so they came up with a legislative solution to help them. They invited the firefighters to the table, but the firefighters had their own program going on and their own plan. And whether that was a good plan or not as good of a plan, whether they should have played nicely with the police officers or not, is water under the bridge, because now we're at this point in present time. And they have decided to take this to the people as a legislative solution instead of going to the Texas House like the police officers did. Whether that's the best plan or not, again, I don't live in the city of Houston, so it'd be dishonest of me to go further, but I want the folks listening to understand that we arrived at this because of a lack of leadership at City Hall. Period. It's not Sylvester Turner's fault. It's not Anise Parker's fault. It's not Bill White's fault. It goes all the way back to Mayor Lee Brown.
I think it goes before that, but I don't think it. I think, okay, let's kind of take a step back. You've got firefighters making $27,000 a year, which is not very much.
How much?
$27,000 a year.
Is that starting or added?
That's starting.
Wow.
You start at $27,000 a year. And I know there's arguments, okay, they only have to work 2 days a week, but they have to work 24-hour shifts on those 2 days a week. Good luck finding another job. And sure, they have benefits, but you talk about a job where you're running in a fiery building. I think people need to, whenever I ran for mayor, every time I've ran for city council, I've always followed Orlando Sanchez's, motto. Pick a few things, do a good job at it. Public safety, infrastructure, basic city services. That's where you want to spend your money on. Under public safety, you break that down. That's the firefighters. That's the police officers. We want them to do a good job. We want them funded to do a good job. And though I love parks, and I live next to a park, ride my bike on a park, I'd rather be safe and have firefighters, come to my house. Hey guys, remember I support you whenever my house is on fire. Remember, I support you. I'd rather them come to my house and make sure we're safe, make sure my daughters don't burn up in the house, because that would break my heart. And that'd break almost anybody's heart if their house, burns down. But my point is this. If we're talking about being, conservative, at least fiscally conservative on, with the city of Houston, spend the money where we say we're supposed to spend the money. Spend it on the firefighters. Take care of the firefighters because we need them. At the minimum, if people are, feeling spiteful towards Sylvester Turner, it's kind of a spit in the face to vote for, this, because it limits, it kind of forces Sylvester Turner to spend more money on the firefighters. So I strongly support it for a very, very, very large amount of reasons. Some of them, full disclosure, my dad was a firefighter, a captain and a senior captain at a number of, I think, two 66s and 67s. So I'm just inherently biased towards firefighters. But on the other hand, as a Republican, as a conservative Republican, I can't help but, it's one of the things we should be doing. Philip, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely think that you have to support the firefighters. And I think they're just basically asking to be on par with their counterparts at the police department, if I'm not mistaken. So you have to support the firefighters. If they need raises, give them a little extra money. I think initially were asking for 3%, but they just were just backlogged from prior years that now they're asking for a larger percentage to try to make up for past years. And if that sends the city, puts the city in a position where they don't necessarily have the revenue to cover it, then that's going to force them to look at other programs and other possible wasteful spending to try to accommodate for that. And so I support the firefighters. I think there also is going to be another proposition about the drainage,
the rain tax.
The rain tax, and so from what I understand, the courts aren't going to make them refund that money back to the residents, but they're going to allow them to be a little bit more clear on the language. And so the city has some explaining to do in this municipal election cycle.
Well, just as a final word to the listeners, I just want you to understand that after this proposition is voted for or against, with regard to the firefighters, that this problem is not going to go away.
Right.
We got to this problem because the city was upside down on its budget, and various mayors and city councils have tried creative solutions to solve this to no avail. The cops ended up going to legislature to try to seek a solution. The firefighters are going a different direction to seek a solution. With regard to the drainage tax, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Thanks, guys. This is it. We'll see you. I'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Thanks very much. You guys have a great weekend.
That was my diplomatic answer.
That was very diplomatic.
Thanks, guys. We're heading out.
But it's the truth.
Hi, this is Eric Dick, and I think it is important that you know your rights. If your homeowner's insurance company has denied or underpaid your claim, you have the right to hire an attorney. You have the right to call me for a free consultation at 833-7-RIGHTS. That's 833-7-RIGHTS. Don't let your homeowner's insurance company take advantage of you. Call me today at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Has your homeowner's insurance claim been denied or underpaid? Call Dick Law Firm at 833-7-RIGHTS.
I can stretch out a little bit longer. Just depends on how you want to.
So as soon as we hear the music, it's going to be 1 minute to start transitioning to the break.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll try to do it smoothly and quickly.
My Tech Texan Show. Have a great, safe Saturday. We will see you right here next week too, and on hightechtexan.com. But right now, my show is over.
Texas Mutual Insurance Company celebrates 20 consecutive years of distributing dividends. We've sent $2.5 billion to save Texas businesses, including a record $280 million payout in 2018. For more about the sweet rewards of safety-focused workers' comp, ask your agent or go to WorksafeTexas.com.
I'm Pat. I'm from Harlem, New York. I started smoking cigarettes when I was about 17, 18 when I was in the military.
Hey guys, I'm going to go live in just a couple minutes. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So, and you can also listen on KPRC AM 950. Maybe if I just move them all together right here, it might be better.
I ordered one up there.
That's good.
That was the first time I got the jewel. I gave it a chance.
So guys,
I wish I found it a long time ago.
Wave it on my friends. Thank you all for supporting me. We're going to go live in just a couple minutes, okay?
JUUL.com.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hey, did you hear that last ad? I know, you might be skeptical, but trust me, Juul is a vaporizer that really satisfies. If you're ready to switch from cigarettes, Juul is an option you'll definitely want to try. You'll be happy you did. Don't wait. Give Juul a shot.
3 minutes. Exciting. 3 minutes. Exciting. See, even Judge Prine's joined. Wow. Exciting. Fantastic judge, Charlie Prine. Great guy.
Let the student need begin their prescription glasses for free. Yep. Listen to this. It's their Seed to Succeed program. The Free Eye Center gives free eyeglasses to students in need. That's free eyeglass frames to students in need, worth up to $200 every time someone has LASIK. So help yourself. Oh, by the way, and a student in need, help me see that by calling 713-526-EYES. 713-526-EYES. And ask about Hopefully I Center's Seed to Succeed LASIK offer. And so do something for yourself. All right? You know,
So if anybody tries calling me in the next hour, I'm not going to respond to text unless I feel like it at some point. I don't know yet.
Seed to Succeed. Hopefully I Center. 713-526.
When the need for senior care arises, there's no place like home. Your loved ones should never have to give up living at home. Visiting Angels will provide home care for your mom or dad at home up to 24 hours per day, including personal care, meals, and light housework. You'll select your professional caregiver with Visiting Angels. Look up visitingangels.com or call 877-374-LIVE. That's 877-374-LIVE.
Oh, Justin's giving you a holler out.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care.
Win your way to our 2018 iHeartRadio
A lot of great people.
Justin Timberlake.
I'll take America Westfall. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Hosted by Ryan Seacrest, September 21st and 22nd at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
Okay. Going live and oh geez, almost there. It's like we're about to go live.
KPRC, Houston, an iHeart radio station.
Still packing a punch. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News. Hawaiians still have a lot to worry about, even though what happened Hurricane Lane was downgraded to a tropical storm. FEMA Administrator Brock Long talking to Fox News.
We're still projecting more than 2 days worth of rainfall to continue to inundate the state. And quite honestly,
give the phone number. Give the phone number for them to call in.
That surpassed what we saw last year with
13212. Perfect. Just making sure.
Rain on parts of Hawaii's Big Island. Tributes pouring in for Arizona Senator and Vietnam War hero John McCain. This after yesterday's announcement that he has ended medical treatment for brain cancer with the end of his life fast approaching. The Army's Chief of Staff General Mark Milley calls McCain an American hero. Meanwhile, President Trump did not mention McCain during a speech last night in Ohio. President Trump today taking another swipe at his Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Fox's Jillian Turner in Washington telling us what the president is tweeting.
Jeff Sessions said he wouldn't allow politics to influence him only because he doesn't understand what's happening underneath his command position. Highly conflicted Bob Mueller and his gang of 17 angry Dems are having a field day as real corruption goes untouched. No collusion.
The president's had a strained relationship with Jeff Sessions ever since the AG recused himself in the Russia probe, allowing a subordinate to appoint special counsel Robert Mueller. Pope Francis visiting Ireland today, acknowledging the child sex abuse scandal in the Catholic Church.
If one thinks about those who are most vulnerable, I cannot fail to acknowledge the grave scandal caused in Ireland by the abuse of young people, minors, by members of the church.
That reporting courtesy of Sky News, Ireland has been particularly hard hit by the sex abuse scandal. Fox News.
Can you guys hear? Can you guys hear?
My mic's on, right?
I believe it.
No one can understand.
Okay.
Sure, we only hit that whenever you're ready, because it will go on the air. You just seem to think that having
It's off now. Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you
Okay.
unless you hold down that.
No, it's on now, right?
Yeah, you don't want to turn it on until we're on, until we're on the air ready for the show itself. Or
Yeah.
else it will go on.
Oh, where's that one?
It's going to be probably the MC mic.
Yeah, don't.
You can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with
So there's a button to chat with me. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I guess you don't have that button right here. You know,
That might be
I'm not quite sure. Maybe we could try it. Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Locked and loaded.
The unofficial end of summer's only a week away. Beachgoers trying to get a little more time in the ocean, but as Bill Nader reports, a tiny little creek is making this miserable for some on the East Coast.
Sea lice causing outbreaks of itching and burning bumps for many people trying to enjoy the waters off the coast of Maryland. Sea lice aren't really lice, they're microscopic jellyfish. And
Is this the
when
one?
you get under your bathing suit, look out. You are in for some itchy little bites in some very tender places.
Some swimmers notice that they start to feel itchy right after they get out of the water, but other people, 2 to 4 days is the time frame where we will see that eruption.
Vic, you ready?
I'm ready. Exciting.
Up to a week. The sea lice haven't been limited to Maryland. The Baltimore Sun says there had been reports of them earlier in the year in Florida and the Carolinas. Jill Nato, Fox News.
Folks in Jacksonville, Florida today mourning the loss of life in a
Yes,
shooting following last
can you hear me?
football game at Rains High School.
Okay, so this must be the button then, right?
Injured police have a suspect in custody. And there was a shooting near a high school in Fairfield, California. A 16-year-old boy was killed and an 18-year-old was in critical condition.
This one right here?
Fairfield Police Lieutenant Greg Probut says
That
they made arrests.
Subject fled the scene, appeared to be connected to the shooting, and that subject
Okay.
was located mixed in amongst the students in the
Two
jail.
people are in custody. And about face from a prominent CEO.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk saying investors convinced him in a meeting not to take the company private. Musk issuing a statement Friday saying the firm remains on the public stock markets for now. Musk saying investors told him they have internal rules limiting just how much they can
All right,
sink
so
into the private company.
Fox's Paul
we're getting ready to go live
Musk made
in
waves
moments.
this summer by saying he might take Tesla private. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News Radio.
From the Corey Diamonds and Design Traffic Center.
Delays around the downtown area as you move northbound on the Gulf Freeway from Telephone past 69. 69 also heavy from I-10 down past the split with 288. And you also have slow traffic on the outbound side of the North Freeway from 410 up to Tidwell. I'm Stephen Foss in the 24-hour traffic center.
This report is brought to you by Office Depot Office Max. If your back-to-school shopping list is testing your budget, the answer is shopping at Office Depot Office Max. From pencils to laptops and everything in between, you'll find low prices all summer long online, on their app, or in-store at the place that's serious about supplies.
Houston, Texas. There's a new sheriff in town when it comes to buying cars. Give me the VIN.com. If I don't beat a CarMax offer, I'll send you a check for $100. Period in the store.
Opinions provided on the Eric Dick Show are for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. You should contact your attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular issue or problem. The opinions expressed on the Eric Dick Show are that of the hosts and guests and do not reflect the opinions of this station or iHeartMedia.
When you've got big problems, you need to have a big, you need Eric Dick, homeowner insurance lawyer and trustee for the Harris County Department of Education. This is the Eric Dick Show.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on the very first ever Eric Dick Show. Exciting with yours truly as a guest. I have my wingman, Chris Carmona.
Hello, hello.
Another fantastic attorney in the Houston area. And we are going to talk about a lot of really exciting stuff. I know, I really get excited when I talk about homeowners insurance.
I know you do, man. And, you mentioned homeowners insurance, and, it's hard not to mention the end of August and then to think of the end of August last year, what we had with Harvey.
Oh, how can I forget Harvey? Oh, the storm that overwhelmed me. Let's start talking about Harvey, because it was an interesting time in Houston last year. We're talking, and this is almost, I think tomorrow's the anniversary. Yeah. I think one thing, if we're just talking straight up with Harvey, that people need to know that a lot of people don't understand is if you do have I'm going to start going lawyer here, so you guys are going to have to forgive me. I'm going to start.
It is a legal show.
It is a legal show. I'm going to start dropping information that's pretty important. So if you have a flood insurance policy, I commonly refer to it as NFIP, National Flood Insurance Program. It's really important that you file your proof of loss by tomorrow. Well, actually not tomorrow, by Monday, which would be the 1-year anniversary. If you've already filed a proof of loss, no big deal. But if you haven't filed a proof of loss, so let me kind of back up a little bit. If you were flooded by Harvey, if
you have any property damage that was related from the storm of Harvey last year, they probably want to take your advice pretty seriously right now, because there's a lot of people that have been hurt by this financially. And it's been a long process, with FEMA not being responsive as we thought they were going to be, with the city, with different charity organizations. Some people just have no help coming to them, right? And so if they need legal assistance, what is the pathway that they should have been following? And it's not too late to still go on and get this done by the deadline of the 1-year anniversary, right?
For flood, if you're talking wind, if you're talking other stuff, it's different. But for flood, if you have a dispute to sue your loss, it's pretty much, Monday's the deadline to file your proof of loss, and you absolutely have to file a proof of loss. After you file the proof of loss, you can go back, you can dispute it, you could whatever, you can have your fight, but you have a 1-year deadline. Usually it's like 30 days or 60 days, but they extended it to 1 year. So you have to file that proof of loss if you have a dispute with your flood insurance policy. Now, if it's there's a lot of other things that happened with Hurricane Harvey that we could talk about, but I just really wanted to emphasize, and I'll probably emphasize that a bit with that 1-year proof of loss, because not many people are talking about it. A lot of people don't understand it, but you can get that form online for the proof of loss, but it has to be filed within 1 year. I just want to say that a lot so people. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's really important because you lose all your claims.
Now, can they find that form at the Dick Law Firm website?
I imagine they could. If I don't really do flood insurance claims very much. I do a few of them because I typically do first party insurance with my firm. If they called me or messaged me, I'd point you the right direction. But it's not really. I'm not trying to get business from this at all. In fact, I kind of don't really want the business. I'm just trying to provide basic information that people should know. I'd hope they know, and they don't. But it's just not explained enough about the 1-year proof of loss.
And no one's gonna highlight this and promote, come and file a claim by Monday. So it's a good thing that you're actually here today, telling all the listeners about this 1-year deadline to make sure that they do get that proof of claim in if they do have one before the deadline, correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's only for the flood insurance policies. The windstorm and all that is a completely different beast. It's completely different type of stuff. And we could, naturally, I guess we could talk about the windstorm a little bit. And I'll talk about insurance till I'm blue in my face. It's and again, it's horribly exciting stuff. People live on Facebook see the faces I'm making. And okay, so the windstorm, that's interesting. There was a lot of, whenever Harvey hit, there was maybe those that were here. Remember, there's a number of like little tornadoes that tagged along all over the city, north side. And like right after Harvey, I physically inspected a couple of buildings, and I was kind of amazed by the amount of wind damage. Where you had one building where the roof was torn off, where they flooded both ways, from the bottom up and the top down. And you see a lot of that in Houston. And what's sad, just from my own personal experience, is a number of insurance companies that just take this hard position that there just wasn't any wind damage at all, that Harvey was just a water event, and that's all it was. There's only flood. It didn't involve there was no winds, and it's just not true. And it just simply isn't true. I mean, unless the stuff I've seen firsthand, and many of other people have suffered with the windstorm and the wind damages and the tornadoes that came through. So I mean, it's just sad that that's kind of the state of affairs. I don't want to dwell on this whole insurance too much.
And that's the thing. I mean, as we approach the 1 year anniversary of Harvey, I mean, there's still a lot of families out there that haven't been given the assistance needed, and so it's always right to make sure we remember those who have lost items. And there were some lost lives in Harvey as well. One of Houston's most tragic events overall. And so when people and families are trying to rebuild their life, a year later, there's still things that need to be done. It's a good thing we have lawyers like Eric B. Dick there to make sure that they can advocate for people and for families to make sure that they can get their house back in order, even as we approach the 1 year mark.
But it was just more than windstorm and flooding. You had a number of other factors kind of going on. You had the chemical plant that exploded that wasn't really expected, and that caused a lot of damage, a lot of craziness.
A lot of collateral damage, just from the floods, the winds, everything that's associated with a catastrophic event. So Eric B. Dick, Chris Carmona, we'll be back after this short break.
Thank you guys so much. I didn't hear the trigger. I guess
when she said 30 seconds, I was like, oh. I didn't hear the music till around 35.
I heard something. We'll get better. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
Were we okay? Was our volume all right? Tone? Okay.
Can y'all hear okay?
Yeah.
Oh, can you guys hear okay?
It might not be.
Yeah, he gave the thumbs up.
It might be that you have an honest disagreement, an honest mistake. But you don't want to go out.
All right, so when we come back from this break,
you need to call Top.
What is that? Philip said anything? Is he
They have a local.
All of our phones are
and this is what
recording something right now.
Oh, Philip's calling right now.
They know how to deal with the IRS. And frankly,
you hear Philip?
If you owe $10,000 or more,
okay. Hey, Chris, go down and get Philip.
I'll be right back.
Chris, come down.
713-489-7433. 713-489-7433. What's at stake here? You're dealing with the IRS. Think about it for a minute. Are you going to go that alone? No.
I hope I didn't throw you off.
No, I'm okay. I didn't mind at all. I'll get lost in just blabbing.
Oh, you're fine.
24,
So yeah, I'll give you a 30-second mark and then a 10-second. And so I could just do it with my hands if that's better for you, or I can do it in your ear.
It's in my ears better because I'm more distracted with all the information.
Understandable.
That depends. Are you a fan?
No, I'm disgusted that you just sexually assaulted me.
Oh, well, in that case, my name is Brian Williams.
No, it isn't. You're lying. Just like Brian Williams does. Except you're not Brian Williams. I knew I should have gotten that concrete sidewalk fixed.
Sounds like someone should have called Southern Concrete Raising. Southern Concrete Raising is Houston's finest leveling and raising specialists. They fix concrete with no gimmicks. Don't let that crack in your sidewalk create a legal problem for you just because you were too busy to get it fixed. My friend Ty Strickland can send someone over to your property free of charge to give you a quote on your concrete. You don't even have to be there when they come by. They'll take care of everything. Find them online at southernconcreteraising.com.
Come plug in over here.
It's Greg Mike from 50 Plus. If you haven't taken a look lately at the UT Health Science Center Consortium on Aging website, you need to do so. They've freshened it up. There's so much information.
We're back. Sorry about that.
People like you, people
Dumped y'all on the
who are
side.
a little bit older
I was negligent.
and want to talk to somebody who knows people who are focused on our care, on geriatric medicine. I'm not geriatric yet, but hey, I'm old.
Where you gonna sit? You gonna sit over there? Oh, with a plug in over here.
UTH.edu/aging. That's UTH.edu/aging.
So I just discovered DazzleMe.com. It started out as the jewelry department at the Home Consignment Center, and now their entire jewelry collection, one of my rings is there as well. That's on DazzleMe.com. From the big name
All right, so we'll transition. We'll talk about
to the unique design.
Talk about the
Still talk about Harvey. We can talk a little bit more about Harvey. I know people on my Facebook want me to talk a little bit about Twitter, which is a big mess in itself. And I know they want me to talk a little bit about Beto and Cruz, which is a really fascinating thing. But
2 points, 4 points close.
I think Cruz could lose that. Cruz really.
Whole that's sponsored lots of stuff around the country club so we can bring in bands.
So give us some feedback what you think right now. It's our first live segment ever. On the air. Myself, Eric Dick. We just got a new guest in today. Philip Paul Bryant just walked in the studio. So but drop some comments, man. Let us know how we're doing. What do you want to hear? We're gonna talk about Harvey a lot today and going back to school. We'll throw a little bit of politics in at the end. Or somewhere where we can fit it. But send us our questions and we'll give a call-in number in a minute. Y'all can call up here.
On KPRC 950.
Okay. All right. Am I on? Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right. Oh, so exciting. We're back. Back for more. Couldn't get enough.
Welcome back to the Eric Dick Show on KPRC 950 AM. Eric, so when we left off, man, we were talking about Harvey and its devastation. And just so we make sure we have everybody on the same page when it comes to the flood claims, they can go to FEMA.gov and actually pick up that application.
Yes.
Correct.
And it's a proof of loss. Its deadline is Monday. It's 1 year. It was extended to 1 year. That's just, and I know we've talked about that a lot, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. But something else to talk about is so we're going with Harvey and all that. So TWIA, Texas Windstorm Insurance Association, which is kind of a nightmare in itself. There's been a lot of problems with TWIA, to be fair, since its conception. This isn't the first time that there are big problems with TWIA. TWIA is basically the last resort insurance company. It's government funded. It's for people off the coast, Galveston, Brazoria County, Corpus Christi, right off the coast. So whenever Harvey hit, it primarily did hit people that had policies with Texas Windstorm. I bring this up, the problems that Texas Windstorm has had in the past. So whenever Hurricane Ike was going on, they got in a lot of trouble. They basically decided that they just weren't going to pay anything. basically. And I know that's probably abbreviating too much.
And it's only gotten worse since that time, right? I mean, we keep passing some laws to make it harder for homeowners to actually recover. And TWIA is a big part of that, correct?
And then we wonder why the race between Beto and Ted Cruz is so close. And don't get me wrong, I'm voting for Ted Cruz, but we wonder why it's so close whenever we pass laws that are anti-consumer, that are anti-people.
Yeah, there seems to be a trend to hurt the little guy over and over again. And then when we have these events, like we had an Ike and then we have a Harvey, we got to be careful about who we're actually protecting, because we start hurting all the homeowners and the consumers. It's just going to be a long road for everybody who's in power right now.
It's not going to be a long road. They're going to lose. I mean, and Ted Cruz should be completely scared, and he is acting scared, as he should be, because you've got Beto. And I'm not saying Beto's a better candidate, because he's not. But what's going on with Beto is he has a good message. He's saying no more corruption. I'm done with corruption. I mean, is he really? I don't know about that. But he's saying no more corruption. I'm not taking PAC money. And he's getting some movement. I mean, he really could win.
I mean, he's not taking PAC money, but he's taking all kinds of foreign money outside the great state of Texas. But yeah, I mean, great point. I mean, especially at the federal level, when we have these natural disasters, we turn to the federal government to do the emergency aid. And, did we see anything put forward recently or last year? They're actually going to protect these consumers. Is Beto going to campaign on that? Is Cruz going to be able to recover from that? Is he going to make that a huge campaign issue between now and November?
It absolutely could happen. I mean, I don't think Ted Cruz is going to embrace, and it's unfortunate. I don't think Ted Cruz is going to embrace consumerism. I don't think he is. I wish he would. I think it would help him. I don't think he is. I hope that more people, Republicans at the local level, embrace consumerism, because it's their constituents. It's literally their constituents. And whenever they side with special interest, big money, big business over individuals, I mean, what do you expect? They're going to vote, especially with the Hurricane Harvey. So you had a new law that went into place like literally 2 weeks or the week of Hurricane Harvey. I think it might have even been maybe a couple days of Hurricane Harvey, 542A. And so this put
the Texas Insurance Code 542A, right?
Yes, Texas Insurance Code 542A. And this was, and I'm gonna give you some quotes, because, quote, greedy lawyers were filing claims, and that this is the rationale, because greedy, evil lawyers were filing claims, even though they're filing on behalf of their people that they're hired for. But lawyers only good whenever, I guess, you need one, right? And that's the joke. So these big bad lawyers,
but it's greedy trial lawyers. You got to make sure you put that in greedy trial lawyers.
Yeah, because considering that there's more lawyers on the Republican side than there are the Democrat side, it's just nonsensical. It's just all that is. It's just big money being funneled from special interests for propaganda, and it's corruption, and there's a lot of stuff going on with that. But so you had that being pushed, you had the law changed where basically it's difficult. You have to have a high level of precision when you're making your demand letter. If you're not perfectly right, you lose your client's right to recover attorney fees. So guess what happens? Is not hardly any lawyers are interested in the cases. There's a handful of them, and I do those cases, but not a whole lot of attorneys do those cases. You have a market that's needed. You have a bad storm come through, and you have a whole bunch of people upset, and they're upset at a lot of things. But this new law that got pushed by Republicans, that doesn't help. That doesn't help, especially in this year when you have a whole wave coming from Donald Trump. You have a whole national wave being pushed. It doesn't help.
It's the resentment. It's the anti-alt-right movement this year. And when you have people, especially in Harris County and the Houston area and Galveston, remembering Harvey and remembering that the effect it still has on them, they're going to remember that in November. Who's helped them over this past year? Was it Republicans or was it Democrats? Or was it neither?
Of course they are. And I'll tell you, just on a positive, because I'm a positive guy. I've been really impressed with Jack Mormon. Jack Mormon on the local level, our Republicans some of them are really, really good. I imagine there's some there are some that are bad too, but there's some that are really good.
We got rid of some of those in the primary, right?
Yeah, some of the extremely corrupt judges, and there's a lot of that going on. We got rid of that, and we're still working. I know we've got, and I'm just going to say, we got a drunk chairman on behalf of the Harris County Republican Party that we got to deal with, but that's not either here or there now. Now what we got to do.
Drunk on liquor or drunk on power?
I think it's both.
Probably both.
It's both. He barely won. It cost $400,000 for him to win that race. Whenever I think his challenger spent maybe $5,000.
Maybe $5,000.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at the dynamics, it's interesting. But I kind of don't want to dwell on that. Let's go. I know we do have a lot of stuff going on because it's back to school, and we got a fantastic guest that we're going to talk to, Philip Paul Bryant.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here with some good people. Mr. Eric Dick, congratulations on your broadcast, Mr. Chris Cremona. I think this is a well put together show. I think it's really great that you guys are on air giving people legal, I don't know if you're allowed to call it advice or legal direction, for lack of a better word. And so kudos to you guys for taking time out of your day. I know you guys have a million things to do, but thanks for doing this show. Your listeners will be very well pleased and very well educated as a result of that. And as you guys know, coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Harvey, you guys know that for the last year, some of the listeners don't know, but for the last 9 years, Eric Dick, along with other sponsors and underwriters, have made it possible in the Fifth Ward area to be able to give away upwards of 500 or 600 backpacks and school supplies each year. And this year alone, we're well surpassed that. We're almost at 900 backpacks.
900 backpacks.
Supplies. And this is a direct result of charitable giving of Mr. Eric Dick, his other colleagues, some of the judges, Judge Sherry Dean, Judge Roy Moore.
Yeah, don't be shy, Phil. Don't be shy. Let everyone know who these people are to put this thing together.
Alicia York. There's a dozen or so judges who, and just for the record, I want to go on record of saying this. They're not going to get votes from 12-year-old African-American kids in Fifth Ward.
No.
So it's not a political thing. It's not something they do to try to boost their credentials. They do it because they care about others. They care about the kids. And they understand that they're making an investment in the lives of young people. And a kid over in Fifth Ward or Cashmere area may very well be the next Mark Zuckerberg or the next Chris Brown or Michael Jackson or LeBron James. And so
they could have used somebody other than Chris Brown. We don't want any domestic violence. But you say that though, and if you listen,
meaning that they're talented. That's the route I was going with.
But if you listen to the names you repeated back in terms of the donations, in terms of the judges, a lot of those are family law judges in Harris County. Absolutely. Great family law judges, and I think for them, you hit it right on the dot. Is they don't do it for votes. They do it because they see the litigants day in and day out, every week, every year, coming through those courtrooms. And a lot of the times it's from families that are broken or not of high value or not, in terms of their financial capital, their financial assets. And they see the effect of not having the proper tools.
Did you suffer property damage during Hurricane Harvey only to have your insurance claim denied?
This is Eric Dick. I think it's important that you know your rights. Hurricane Harvey may have been the most costly storm in history, and if your insurance company did you wrong because they didn't pay for your claim, well, you have the right to hire an attorney and sue them. You have the right to call me for a free consultation at 833-3HARVEY, 833-3HARVEY. Don't let your insurance company take advantage of you. Know your rights. Call me today, 833-3HARVEY.
In the home available, whether it's a pencil or pen. We got to make sure we're equipping the kids properly, and that's what Philip Paul Bryant has been doing for the last 9 years at the Island of Hope Church with his back to school drive.
And it's just an amazing drive. We're going to take a break, guys. Thank you so much. This is Eric Dick, and we got Philip Paul Bryant as a guest, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you guys so much.
First of all, I want to
Good job, Philip. Good
job. Of the Michael Berry Show and our entire station.
I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
You're welcome. That's a good transition, man.
Because you always see that button, because you
We're going to have y'all turn on your mics so we don't have any chatter if we're not ready yet. You know what I mean? So you see your on button right there?
Yes.
So whenever you're ready to go, hit it on.
So right here?
Yeah, we coming back from the break?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yours is right over there. There you go. And then yours is right over there. On. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, so it's off right now.
It's off right now. So whenever you're ready to go.
Cool.
Okay.
How's it sounding?
Sounds great. Sounds really good. Yes. Have you done radio before?
I played with it when my brother's on air personality. And
oh, cool. All right.
So I played with him sometimes. I used to. I haven't done it in probably 10 years. But.
Comes back. Absolutely. Sounds great, guys.
It's free. 877-717-PTSD.
You've got lots of
So if my brother's listening,
yard equipment, ATVs, motorcycles,
constructive feedback.
you name it, and they all use fuel.
Later on, not right now.
These same fluids that make your engine run also create deposits that reduce
Oh.
performance and gas mileage. Come out, multi-system tune-up removes these gummy carbon deposits and stabilizes
So we're about
fuel.
we're at the halfway mark. So Philip, we're gonna come back out the break.
Get a can today. Just 647.
We can transition back out over the after he's done with this segment. Transition back over to Harvey. Now, this time
I got you.
I'd like to also talk to, like, he brushed in some really great judges I'd like to talk about. I think Sherry Dean, she really is tough. Sherry's really good. I'd like to talk about Sherry. Sherry's really just, I mean, to be fair, if more Republicans did that, it wouldn't be a sweet county.
Yeah, because Dean and Moore have been doing it from the beginning, right? Or almost from the beginning.
No, actually, first year.
Yeah.
Eric,
2010.
Judge Shooting and Judge Moore.
713-489.
Actually, Chris Daniels, but he comes in and out sometimes.
489.
Oh, CD?
What's at stake?
Let me take my face off the camera.
Think about it.
He tries.
The experts call
Oh,
We can also talk about, I don't think we need to talk about the department. We can, but I think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary.
Oh, but we can talk about the bond vote today.
That's really important.
Transition.
The bond vote's really important.
Because that's happening right now. It ends at what, 7? So you heard they said right when they gave us the countdown when we're going back in. When you hear the music start playing back in, it's breaking in.
And we gotta push the button.
Hit the on button. They go back on.
I got it.
or more.
And if it's coming back in a while ago, we're like, are they going to say, and we're back?
During the off season,
So
approximately
we'll say that. We can lead in with, and we're back.
protesting police violence or whatever the hell it is.
Make sure you put the show's name, like you're saying, very good show.
Yeah.
So that way, if they're not listening on air, they're
We
listening.
can take some callers too.
Yeah.
I'll take some callers. Maybe we'll do another segment and take, well, maybe we'll do half a
Hey,
segment and take callers.
hey, we'll go back to other the backpacks here, all the list of what they have there. You know, tell the kids they can bring their school supply list and go shopping. Yeah. So make sure you tell other than backpacks, they everything else they have. Tell the kids to bring their paper and their little list, and they can mark it off and pick up their supplies. And then I tell everybody how I just spent so much money, I'm gonna go turn it and then go back.
How much you raise so much money on?
I spent like $150 on school supplies. I'm about to go get my receipts.
That's funny. You know, he never brings the girls.
KPRC on iHeartRadio.
And we're back for more. Eric Dick with my show, talking about Hurricane Harvey, talking about going back to school, and we have a special guest, Philip Paul Bryant, who does every year Backpack to Fifth Ward with some of the most amazing people that help him.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, did we announce that he was world-renowned author, Philip Paul Bryant?
Y'all forgot to announce
that.
that.
We forgot that
Y'all
part.
forgot to announce that.
Philip Paul, what's the book you have? What's your latest book you have out right
It's
now?
called Death of a Community, How the Church, the Police, and Facebook Are Shaping Our Future. I'm actually working on another piece. I hope to get it released by mid-December. And it's going to be talking about hurricane preparedness, things you can do. Actually, national disaster preparedness. So things to do in the case of hurricane, tornadoes, terrorist attack, school, active shootings. And so I'm actually going to be working with Attorney Eric Dick on that book. And so we hope to have that out because it's not about just trying to get it out right before hurricane season. So we want to make sure we have everything in there because on a regular basis, we need to make sure that we're prepared and we're preemptive on protecting our homes and our families. And so I'm really excited about that. One other thing I want to make mention of is tomorrow. We mentioned the back to school, the 9th annual. It's going to be tomorrow at 12 noon. It's going to be at the Island of Hope Church. That's 1505 Greg Street. And that's in Houston, Texas, right there on the corner of Lyons and Greg. And you go over about one other block, and you'll see the big dome church, the Island of Hope Church, Bishop Bryant, the whole team there. And you'll see some judges, unlike where you usually will see them in a robe, in the court, super official. You know, Judge Moore comes there in his shorts. Judge Dean comes there with her grandkids, and Mr. Lance, her husband, volunteers. We still need volunteers, but a lot of times people from their actual court coordinators and stuff like that actually come to the event and volunteer. They don't get paid for this. No one gets paid for it, but it's an investment in the kids and an investment in the community. And also we have some pretty good entertainment because the goal is to not just give the kids the backpacks, because, you know, you can just form a line in the park somewhere and hand out backpacks. But the goal is to bring elected officials, people who may be considered role models in our communities, and have them all saying to the kids, it's important to stay in school, it's important to get good grades, and we're here, we got your back. So we have a talented, we'll have step teams there, we'll have karate teams performing.
And you got manicures and
manicures and free haircuts, because we want to encourage the kids to, no excuses, right? Everyone's on your side. You got everything you need. We're going to make sure you look good. And so super excited about it. This is year 9. So Eric Dick is officially has hood credentials.
He has tenure in the hood now.
He has a hood pass. I come to the 5th Ward.
I get my pass to 5th Ward because I got their back and I got their backpack. Yeah, I want to talk
because the brand that was good.
I do like branding. You have to admit that. But Sherry Dean, I've been so impressed with everything she's done with the backpack to 5th Ward. She has put in a lot of effort on this. In fact, she called me, and no, she didn't call me. She messaged me, Eric, you better donate this time. Yes, Judge, I'm donating. Yes, Judge. She really takes this personal, and it's kind of amazing seeing her there because she knows the kids. She goes and checks with them every year, make sure they're doing good. And it's really, I'm going to have to say that Sherry Dean is one of the role models, at least in the Republican Party. She should be, because if more people were acting how she acts, and she's doing it in all sincerity, there's nothing but sincerity. But if more Republicans actually cared in the local level, maybe it wouldn't be a swing district. That's just my humble opinion.
When you go into her courtroom, her biggest thing is family matters. Just saying, and she lives that motto and she lives that mantra, because everything she does in the courtroom and outside the courtroom is always to better the families and better the kids. And so,
and one other point about Judge Jean, she has a huge heart, and so some of you may not know this, but this past Sunday, her mom actually passed, and I know that her and her family was out in, I believe it was Lufkin this weekend, dealing with that. But when I tell you, in the middle of that family coming together and needing to take care of that, she was still calling and texting every day. She's not doing it for show. She really cares. There's no cameras out there these years. It's just out there doing what it takes to help the kids. And I did want to make mention of a couple other names that she gave me. Judge James Lambino.
Oh, Lamberdino.
Judge
Lamberdino.
Judge John Schmoody.
Schmoody, yes.
Judge Charlie Prime.
Oh, Charlie's a really good guy.
Judge Ron Moore, Judge Alicia York, and of course, Trustee Dick.
Yeah. Judge Prine he's another really great guy. You mentioned a few of them. Judge Schmoody, John Schmoody, he's another. That was an interesting race, and I can talk all about that. Where you had an incumbent that just pushed this policy where if you didn't take a parenting class, you didn't get custody or even visitation. It was just insane, just bad. I mean, you don't want that person in any party. But I'm glad to see that you have that John Schmoody's involved. That of course Charlie Prime is one of the nicest people around. You got good people pushing this, which it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
It is absolutely the right thing to do, and more people need to be trying to help others.
And I want one last thing. I want to make mention that last year was pretty special because obviously with Hurricane Harvey, we actually had to reschedule. As you remember, we actually had to reschedule the back to school event for the following weekend just because that weekend, the fourth Sunday, which would have been around the 27th of August of last year, people were stuck in their homes. People didn't have power. People didn't have proper communication. So we were forced to reschedule the back to school event. And we reached out to our sponsors, Eric Dick and Judge Dean, and we let them know, hey, you know what? I know this is a back to school giveaway, but we need to add some clothes and some food. And our sponsors last year stepped it up, and we were able to give out clothes, food, and other toiletries to the community. And so we're happy that this year we're not needed to give out additional clothes and food.
But you won't turn them away if somebody brings some clothes up there and they have a lot. I mean, because kids do a lot, especially in ISD. A lot of them need the uniforms.
Oh, absolutely. And it's still people are still displaced a year later. And
so with this in mind, Harvey going back to school today is also, and there's also some other stuff going on today. You got a bond proposal. Today's the last day. It's election day for to add some more debt, and
and there's a lot of confusion on this bond issue too, because when first we had the county judge specifically say he wanted this special election because he didn't want to have to campaign for himself and the bond in November. So he asked the governor to set this in August. And the governor's response was, you already have the money coming and it's now, so I don't know why you really need this, but I'll go ahead and set it for you anyways. So when the governor says that, Eric, Phillip, do we need this $2.5 billion additional when the governor already says it's coming?
I don't. But
the thing that I like about it is, in all fairness to Judge Emmett and his team, I know Owens and a few other people down there, they've done a good job, in my opinion. And obviously, you have up until about 7 p.m. today to go vote. But in my opinion, they did a good job to try to spell out street corner by block by block exactly where those funds were going to be allocated towards. So whether or not areas or certain communities need those fundings or need that money, I can say that they were transparent in rolling out there exactly where those monies and where those dollars were going to go. So I appreciate that.
But the money's already, that money that is being, I won't say allocated, but needed for those areas, that's already coming from the state, right?
Well, if you've seen some of the devastation out there, and I know you have, Kamal, so it's a rhetorical question. So going out there and Kojic, we were donated a huge 60,000 square foot facility after Harvey, which Kojic Charities and Kojic Urban Initiatives were able to come in and set up a resource center where people can come get goods and other services. And we took it with Bishop Macklin and Bishop Blake and Bishop Bryant. We took a tour around certain areas. And if you were to see some of those areas and some of the devastation, and it wasn't just poor African American and Hispanic
everywhere.
It was everywhere. And if you were to see some of those areas, I guarantee you, from my perspective, you can't give enough money to one, to help those people be restored, and two, to try to prevent this from happening again.
And also you have everyone all along Barker Dam that flooded. And
absolutely.
It's just a big
and none of that
mess.
money touches that area as a project though, right? So
that's the county. Maybe we'll talk more about that soon. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we're going to take another little break. I've got Phil Paul Bryant as a guest. This is Eric Dick and Chris Carmonas playing Wingman. Thank you guys.
Wingman, come on. Oh, Mr. Devil's Advocate over.
No, I was doing good. It was good content.
You Republicans, man, I tell you.
That was good
The
content.
Republicans are supporting it. What are you talking about?
Well, it's just
Some of the Republicans are.
yeah, some of them are. I'm not necessarily, but it's just
The enemy Republicans.
it's just good. It's good talk. It's good stuff to talk about. It's good fodder. I do think that if Ed Emmett, if the city did more like how Ed Emmett was like, this is where the money's going, all that, they would have less blowback. With
Yeah,
I think he did.
that was smart on campaign wise to build it out, but yeah, but that's the thing. When Abbott says you don't really need the money because it's coming, you have it around. It should be there by August. But go ahead, let's put it on the ballot.
Yeah. Jack Moore.
Hi, this is Eric Dick, and I think it is important that you know your rights. If your homeowner's insurance company has denied or underpaid your claim, you have the right to hire an attorney. You have the right to call me for a free consultation at 833-7-RIGHTS. That's 833-7-RIGHTS. Don't let your homeowner's insurance company take advantage of you. Call me today at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Has your homeowner's insurance claim been denied or underpaid? Call Dick Law Firm at 833-7-RIGHTS.
Someone was there saying, do we really need to do this?
Yeah.
You have to give fighting Jack. He's not been doing bad. I've been really impressed with how Jack's been campaigning.
He's finally, yeah. I mean, I won't say he's been quiet. He just does his job. He doesn't ever do any hoorah and all that over the last 4 years.
He's just in the community. That's all he is.
He does his job.
Unless you're in the community, you
And
don't
then,
see
but
it.
now, but even 4 years ago, he didn't campaign. I don't think he had a phone 4 years ago. Did he? No, but this year, his campaign is it's pretty strong, man.
It's a solid campaign. He's in the community. You think
volunteer. I want to thank so many of you who just raised awareness.
does a great
You ever
job.
see much from Adrian?
PTSD have a place to go.
Adrian's a career politician that's just gone from spot to spot to spot. The Democrats don't even like Adrian.
717-78.
Shot a lot of his little capital on the mayor's race, and then back after that, going against Jimmy Green.
Now let our other veterans serve you.
One after the other. So
There is an answer. Call Camp Hope. It's
Dylan,
877-717-PTSD.
how you doing out there, man? You doing
That
good?
intro is great.
Oh, the intro?
Yeah, the intro is hysterical. It's great. The intro is horrible.
Sarah Barrett,
So much information there.
Dylan Glass.
And want to talk with somebody.
You have any questions? Hey, we need some, when we come back in, get the calling number.
Yeah,
If anybody has any questions about RV issues or the back to school event, have them call in, and then we'll see if we can get some patches. How y'all doing over here? I haven't checked on y'all in a while.
You guys doing good? Guys doing good?
Most of the employees, including the owner, are former military themselves. Best place to get training, practice,
Can't
license
see.
carry, and a great rental fleet. So you can shoot their
Turn
guns if you want to rent them there. 713-779-GUNS, topgunrange.com.
You've got lots of engines in your life.
When,
Cars, fire equipment, ATVs, motorcycles, watercraft, you name it. And they all use fuel and oil. These same fluids that make your engine run also create deposits that reduce performance and gas mileage. Gun Out Multi-System Tune-Up removes these gummy carbon deposits and stabilizes fuel and oil, helping restore performance and fuel economy. Get a can today.
Philip, we're talking about your book. I was actually going to spin that over to Philip Paul Books Library. Where can they buy this book? Philip speaks of.
That's right.
Oh, you can't get there by bus? You need to buy a new car?
Philip Paul Fry's cars.
Used cars. You can't wake up in the morning. You need some coffee. Go to Phil Paul's Coffee House.
That's right. 30 seconds. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
From around town.
The city of Houston to overcome our obstacles and our hurdles.
That's funny though.
The world is talking about it.
Know your
Remember to hit your on button going back in.
Ride home with Joe Pags.
Lots going on, lots more to get to.
Monday evening at 6 on KPRC 950.
And we're back. Eric Dick back with special guest Philip Paul Bryant is back to school, 9th annual Backpack to 5th Ward.
Making a difference.
You know what really impresses me about Philip Paul Bryant is that he actually does good for the community. I mean, he has 2 first names, Philip Paul. You know they always said that those 2 first name guys, you got to watch out for them. But
Technically, I got 3 first names, Philip Paul Bryant.
That's true.
And 3 last names.
Man, I thought we'd see you on the news for other items, but man, good seeing him doing some good for the community.
Philip's done a lot of good for the community for a lot of things. But anyway, maybe we'll take some phone calls. Maybe if anyone decides they want to call in.
Yeah, if you have any questions about the back to school drive coming up tomorrow at the Island of Hope Church, or maybe any Harvey related questions about insurance claims, the process, feel free to give us a call. That number is
713-212-5950. That's 713-212-5950. Anyway, so we were talking about Harvey. Maybe we'll go back, kind of talk a little bit more about Harvey, the bond election. I know it's the elections today. So what I found like good, I mean, I almost always vote no if it involves a bond election or any type of tax increase. It's hard for me to vote yes for that. But having said all that, so you could probably figure out where I'm going to vote. But having said all that, what I am really impressed with is how Ed Emmett kind of positioned this. Not that he kind of weaseled into avoiding the general election. I'm not very impressed with that, but I am impressed with how he explained basically what they needed, where the money's going to be spent. And I think that level of transparency, kudos to you, Ed Emmett. Kudos to, the team that's campaigning on that. I am also impressed that Jack Mormon, he stood up. He's like, do we really need to be doing this? And I have to say, I know it's a hot race, but Jack Mormon has been doing just such a killer job in his campaign. I've been nothing but impressed with that guy. And he won just out of a complete fluke. He's another great example of how Republicans should kind of campaign, how their positions should be, because he just cares about his community. He really does. And
that's where you see the success. In Harris County, and especially a lot of urban areas around the country, it's when you truly care about the community and where you live, and you're making that voter contact and not considering voters, but actual people in your district. That's where you're seeing the success in these candidates and people like Jack Mormon. I mean, doing it right and knocking it out the park.
Yeah, and Jack, it's like he won. It was just a complete fluke because Sylvia Garcia had like $2 million, $3 million she was just sitting on. She thought she was going to walk with the race, and Jack had like 2 pennies to his name. His campaign was pretty much bubblegum and shoestrings. The guy, he's just struggling to get. It'd be like just some guy just decide they're going to run for office. They run and they end up winning, and they're kind of. I'm sure he was taken back, blown away. No one expected Jack Mormon to win.
It's almost like Helena Brown in 2011.
It's actually similar to that, but it was more mind blowing because it was such a large spot. And you had fighting Jack Mormon just go in there. And he's been doing a good job since. I'm really impressed with him. I really am. And there's not a whole lot of people I am impressed with, but I'm really, really impressed with Jack Mormon.
Speaking of being impressed, again, tomorrow, the 9th annual Island of Hope Backpack to 5th Ward back to school drive. Philip Paul Bryant has been doing that impressively for the last 9 years, and having the big support from Eric Dick and Judge Sherry Dean and Judge Warren Moore, and then now a host of other judges have jumped into the fray, family law judges, and it's going to be a huge event tomorrow, so make sure y'all come by and check that out. That's from 12 to
2:30.
12 to 2:30. Now, other than the backpacks, what else are you going to have there, Philip?
We're going to have school supplies, man. We're going to have everything that they need as far as starting school, and I know some kids have already started school. I believe HISD starts on Monday. And so and I encourage parents, if you don't have any kids or your kids are grown, come on out, volunteer, because you can make a difference just by encouraging a kid stay in school, get good grades, and just let them see some positive role models. If you're familiar with the area, Fifth Ward, there's a lot of questionable stuff going on around there. So to see some positive influences, we got a liquor store about 3 blocks away where every day when kids walk home from school, they'll see behind a liquor store just a crowd of people just drinking and hanging out. And so to push on them some positiveness, some you can do it. It'll go a long way. So you never know exactly what's going on in the home. And so just to be that unbiased voice of saying, hey, you can do this. I think you're going to be great. What do you think about being a doctor? What do you think about being an attorney? What do you think about running for office one day? Hey, you can be an astronaut or run for president. So just to have different voices, encourage kids. So come out, volunteer. If you think your kids already have everything they need, then bring them out anyway and let them rub off some of their good home training off on some kids who may not be as fortunate. So 1505 Greg Street, that's tomorrow at 12 o'clock sharp. We're going to have drill teams there. We're going to have praise dancers, karate performances.
It's going to be one big party, huh?
It's going to be a back-to-school party.
And again, kids, parents, bring those school lists with you. You can go and do your shopping there if you haven't done so already.
Absolutely.
I know I spent about $150 on my 2 girls this past week. I may go take that back to Walmart or Target and do my shopping at Island of Hope tomorrow. If there's some supplies left for the people who really need.
They may take your Republican card.
Hey, you said you had plenty.
Okay, guys. Okay. So we got kudos to you, Philip. You're doing a great job with Island of Hope. You got great people backing you on that. And let's just, I guess we're gonna finish up the show. Maybe.
Yeah. If you have any questions, again, call in. The number again is
713-212-5950. Then feel free to call in, but let's kind of maybe transition this a little bit. The show is going to be on weekly. The next 2 weeks we're not going to be on because of U of H football, but we're getting our sea legs. We're coming back. We're going to have a lot of other great local guests. I'm going to be the host. I'm hoping I'm going to be the host unless someone comes and takes my name from me, which, who knows what's going to happen.
You never know.
Never know.
Some dick try to take your name.
Yeah, no, everyone tries. Everyone does different things for different reasons. Okay, so anyway, so back to maybe let's talk about Harvey a little bit.
Yeah, and we can't talk about that enough, especially this weekend. Again, it's the 1-year anniversary. That's why we really want to make sure that we also highlighted, Philip Paul's back to school drive, because again, the devastation it put on a lot of families and the lasting effect it's had. It's not just the school supplies and the clothing, and there's still a lot of assistance needed with Harvey related items and issues. And again, if you have those questions and you need help and some guidance, it's not too late. Eric Dick's always willing to offer the assistance where it's needed.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Dick Law Firm. There's a lot of claims from Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane Harvey caused a lot of damage, and it's going to be a long time before everything's resolved. I know a lot of people are still fighting with their homeowners insurance companies over storm damage. A lot of people are fighting over TWIA, and that's just a show in itself with all the problems that TWIA's face and whether or not we should even have TWIA or whether even TWIA is worth the money people pay.
And if we want to get rid of or entities like TWIA or the policies like TWIA, then make sure you're holding those who make these laws accountable, right?
We should make sure we're holding those people accountable. People run for office, and it's all what I've found is being involved in politics, being elected, being an attorney, is all this stuff is tied together. Politics, law, policy, government, it's all tied together. And if you're just trying to do the right thing, try to make a living, trying to help people, it gets hard. And it's easy to go down the path of being negative and being upset at the situation, but it's really hard to actually do something that's meaningful, that actually is worthwhile, and actually get paid for it. So, you know, I'm always impressed with people like Philip Paul Bryan that go out, and he just does a lot of different things. And I've always been impressed with what you do, Philip. I'm impressed with the Kojic PAC, which is it's a great organization that you're the chairman for.
Can we get you to put some of this stuff in writing, please?
Absolutely. But you've done really great. And but my point is this, that it's so easy to go down the path of just being negative and, you know, oh no, everyone else, you know, caused this. So thank you.
And it's good to have people like that in the community. And, you know, if you're always getting pushed around, you got to make sure you have somebody in the corner that's a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher than the other guy. And that's Eric Dick.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Dick Law Firm. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, guys. You have a great one.